Gillette.
Actually, last time too tonight.
It's okay. I'm forgettable.
Well, I'm very sensitive to mine, even around here.
It has had some interesting spellings over the years, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Even mine does.
You know, I wish I was related to the Gillette family. I would definitely be in a different, not the line of anyone.
Place.
Yeah. I'd be at Gillette Stadium cheering on Bergeron every day. It's still Gillette Stadium? I could change it. TD or something.
Now you'd be making iced teas for all the crap. Whatever.
Sure.
That's fine.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming. I have 6:30 on the nose. Let's get started. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Pittsfield Town Council. Today is Tuesday, June 7th, 2022. So let's start by standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much. So I'll ask for a moment of silence, please. All right, thank you all very much. So let's move on to number 2, please, the adoption of the minutes of the regular meeting held on May 17th, 2022. I'll look for a motion from the council, please.
I make the motion that we adopt the regular meeting minutes held on May 17th, 2022.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments, council? No changes? Everything looks good? Very well. Hearing none, since we're ready to vote, all those in favor of the adoption of the minutes of the regular meeting held on May 17th, 2022, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. The minutes have been adopted. Move on to number 3, presentations, congratulations, and introductions. So this evening we have Mr. Jared Barnes Gillette with the MDOT. He was here previously to discuss the PPI project we have in the state. So he has a few bullet points, items he'd like to discuss or bring up with us. So I yield the floor.
Thank you.
Please.
I'm also joined today with Randy Barrows. He's the project manager for the current project and the work plan. He and I have been having some back and forth with the PPI proposal, current work plan, some steps forward. And one thing on the PPI that I think is probably nebulous for a lot of people is really what is the process. And I've only been at DOT now for 9 weeks. The PPI has only existed for about 7 weeks as the community-based initiatives. It's not a new thing, but the current programs that we have are relatively new to the department, and so we're kind of designing the car with the wheels spinning in a way. But I think one of the biggest questions is, how do we start? Where does it go, and what does it get us? Like, why would we bother going down the planning partnership initiative? Really the first step is really what we're doing right now is a town manager reaches out to me. I come to a town or a city council or a select board meeting, introduce the program. The town says, yeah, we'd like to explore it. And the first step in that exploratory process is I would come back, meet with the town manager, public works, interested parties, sort of walk around the site, get a sense of what the vision is, draft a scope of work. That's the first step. I then send this back to the various town officials. Does the scope of work fit what you think is in your vision for how you want your downtown or your project to look? And this can be, the scope of work can be something as minimal as just looking at an intersection and maybe doing a study for the timing of a signal light, or something as large as looking at the entire, start and end point of a historic downtown. And where that downtown is defined by the town. We're not here to tell you what your downtown is or what your historic village is. That's for you. And if there's things that you think need to be added into that study, such as some type of connectivity to a school or to another amenity or facility that we didn't get, then we add that in there. And so then after that, we have a scope of work that we've agreed upon. We'd then go into an MOU. There'd be a contract eventually between the municipality and DOT. And if you don't have a regional planning organization or an MPO to help with the RFP process, there's other supports that we can help. And you would go about selecting a consultant. And you would be in the driver's seat. This is your project. DOT is here as a resource to help you. You would set X number of meetings that would be required. At a minimum, DOT would like to see 2 public meetings, public forums for everyone to come in and provide feedback. And at the end, what you would have is a study which provides, depending on what your scope of work is, fairly close to a concept, basically a concept level of where you're going to go further with either a small VPI or a large VPI. And so the reason why we ask that you go through this planning process, which, like I said before, it would be about 9 months, is so that you've done a vetted public process, you've had alternatives, a third party who is an engineering firm, either in collaboration with a landscape architect and an urban designer, has produced viable alternatives that meet the needs of what the town's vision is. There's been a public process, and you can address various levels of your transportation infrastructure in your downtown core and get it done once and for all. This is, like we said before, doing the infrastructure for the next 100 years. But the PPI is that precursor. I would say, it's up to the town to decide, really what the vision is, what that scope of work looks like. In that PPI, you can include details down to streetscaping and benching and the materiality that you want to see in your sidewalks, to the types of crosswalks that you want to see, to even having renderings that would suggest a type of signage or facade program for the town. That would be something that's included differently. Maybe put that in with your comp plan. But at minimum, what I like to see and what I'm putting in the scope of works that I draft is that the consultant provides you with a plan view of what you're going to do, cross-section, and then specific perspectival. So like if you are actually standing in that spot, looking at looking down Main Street, looking up, Route 11, Somerset Street, did I get it right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Something like that, yeah.
That
You got it.
And so you'd actually have a clear, defined visual that shows and communicates what it's going to look like if it gets built. In a concept level, it's going to have to go to engineering after that, but it's getting you almost 80% of the way to being able to say, this is what it's going to look like. This is what we're going to invest in. And it's, part of the planning process. You've got a plan, it's shovel ready. The funding's much more likely to come. It sounds much more complex, but then, just having something come in the work plan. Honestly, it's really a matter of just, I come back to town, start doing the scope of work, scope of work's negotiated, you then enter into a contract with DOT, and then we just get the ball rolling. And things actually start to move very fast. It's just up to the town to decide, do we want to do it or do we not? And I'm not here to sell you. I'm a public servant. I just provide technical assistance and a service. It's really up to the town to decide what they'd like to do. But it's just one of those things. Decide, do you want to do it? I will say right now, we have, gosh, I'm going to sound like a car salesman. I just said I'm not a salesman. At this time of last year, we actually only have about half of our PPIs that would have been in the pipe, so there is some openings right now. We think maybe it's because of COVID. Town's just decided not to go through the public process, because you do have to have meetings, have people sitting around a table, scribbling on maps and drawings and swapping virus particles. So I think it's probably one of the things that influenced it. But there is space right now. We've got capacity, and we're more than happy to help you through that. I think one of the big questions that remained from the last meeting was, you've got an earmark, gone through, what can we do with that? I spoke with Rio, they're the money whisperers within DOT. We can just apply it to a new project. We still have time, it's not going to lapse. And even if there was sort of a concern, if you have an MOU, we can then just say to, the feds, hey, they're an MOU, it's going to get done. So it should be applied to that new project.
MOU.
Memorandum of Understanding.
Okay.
So if you've entered into an agreement with DOT and then you've entered into a contract, that federal money isn't going to lapse. It's not going to go away. We'll be able to apply it to either the current project or, the future project that would be a result from the Planning Partnership Initiative.
So do we have I didn't mean to cut you off, you had more going on. What is our schedule for getting a plan in place? I mean, it's certainly not going to be open-ended. I just assume get it done sooner than later.
Well,
If we had something on your plate before Thanksgiving, I don't know, I'm spitballing there.
I'm actually here to sort of ask the council to make a decision tonight if you want, because Randy's got right-of-way projects that are sort of on hold right now, are on hold, and the decision is if you want to enter into the Planning Partnership Initiative, I think you'd be starting, I don't know what it's going to be like getting a consultant right now. So far it hasn't been, I haven't heard much of a hiccup, but I never know what's going to, it's so hard to predict right now. Things could start way well before Thanksgiving.
So what you're looking for from us is a yay or a nay.
A yay or nay.
Yes, Pittsfield wants to do that, and so get the ball rolling your end, or pencil us in, or no, we're not interested, or we can't do it, and that money gets allocated elsewhere. So it's scenario. If we get to one, as you mentioned, that was one of my concerns that I had the consultant. If we don't have availability of a consultant in a timely manner or even a fiscally sound manner, and we said, it's been 9 months, we still haven't got anything we give you, we just don't have the wherewithal to do that. Well, like you said, that money will go elsewhere. After a while, we'd have to kind of give it up, or it's not going to be. I guess I'm looking for, is there an obligation on our part? Will we get penalized or fined? Probably the wrong words for that.
No, you're not going to be. If you've entered into a good faith agreement with DOT and it's just the nature of the world, we couldn't get a consultant, no one's going to say to you, nope, sorry, we're going to take that earmark and give it. The earmark is yours. The earmark is for Pittsfield. And if you're doing your best faith effort, I can't see why they would. I've never heard of that.
I haven't either.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only hiccup would be if a difficulty sourcing a consultant. I don't think that's really going to apply to you. It's a lot of sort of the more northern towns, the places that are much more farther out, tend to have, they'll either get one bid or zero bids. I had a place north of Bangor get 0 bids for an RFP. I really don't think that's going to be a problem for people. You're close enough to critical mass. You're close enough to where the consultants are. They're looking at how much gas they're going to spend to send their professionals up. You're not that far away.
Okay.
So I would worry less about that.
Okay. Councilors have any questions at all, please? Right, you look like you have.
Do you have consultants that you do partnerships with, you use frequently, and they're kind of like on the hook, or you just can go and grab anybody off the wall?
It has to go out to bid through the process that the town.
Do you have some that are real familiar with working with you that could easily put a bid in and hit the ground running?
Could you provide recommendations?
Yeah.
I can say that there are plenty of very qualified consultants on our pre-qualified list at DOT that would be well suited and have experience in towns similar to Pittsfield.
So that pre-qualified list would be available to us upon request?
Yep, that's on their DOT website. I can get that to you. It's a qualifications-based process, and it's just a standard bid process for the DOT's protocols. But we have a list of people who would be very good at doing the job, and it's up to the town to decide. Public servants.
So if we had 3 or 4 bidders, and would you be willing to look at it and say, well, this might be the low one, but I prefer to use this one?
I'm not involved in the
No? Okay.
Because it's qualifications, it doesn't have to be the low bidder. It's the one that meets the requirements. It's a different process than what we usually do.
Okay.
I would be more than happy to work with whatever consultant the town procures.
Can you refresh me on the town's financial obligation? I mean, as the consultant, obviously, that's our responsibility, and then beyond that, I get there's grants and other things involved, but initially on the planning process, what are the town's financial obligations?
It's a partnership, so DOT will contribute a share of it, and the town is also responsible. It's 50-50 for the planning
50-50?
partnership. Yeah.
Roughly scope of
work, I'd say, not having done the estimate, but looking at the size of Pittsfield, I'd say the total cost would be $75,000 would be about
total cost?
Yeah, and so it'd be a half of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So did you find out anything from the grants person that's back on which grants we have that can be used as a match for a federal grant?
That one I'm still working on.
I know it's complicated.
It is complicated. It's still in the works. It's a matter of looking at what federal programs are going to be okay with it and what may not. And it's never. We have a specific position just for looking at what matches. Off the top of my head, I think the CDBG may not be. I would say don't even try and go down that route, but some of the other ones may be, and the private ones certainly is. But that one, that is still beyond its. The money whisperer is what I call it. The new department just has been. We just submitted 2 federal US DOT grants, and it just hasn't had the time. It's an answer that's there, and I can still get that back to you. But I'd worry less about the match and more about what the town really wants to do for going forward.
Yeah, on the CDBG grant, for all the grants that we have the money for most of them. And the project canopies, we may or may not have to reapply. Those are for the tree planting, so that's fine. I already have the grants in the computer. I can just redo them, and we've always gotten them. The CDBG, I've had, this has been very difficult to get the amendment, so it's now pending HUD approval. The state is not sure if it will be approved, and so if not, because it's gone on for a while, and we've completed everything except for the project. We did the jobs and we did all the paperwork and the environmental study. Everything else was done. We just haven't done the construction. The state mentioned that perhaps they could try to write a new grant. So this is all up in the air right now.
For the CDBG, and I just actually did a CDBG sort of mini lesson with the Bureau of Planning today. I'd almost think of that as a separate grant for something separate and not even have it factor into the Planning Partnership Initiative. If you were a U.S. DOT designated area of persistent poverty, which you're not, you can't use it for that as a match. It would have to be for the project-specific grant that you've applied for. So I guess for this purposes, I would sort of just put that in a different silo. Now, that being said, if it's related to something that you need like an MOU from DOT, we can provide something like that to say, yes, we've got a project that's in the works. This is not match for that project, but we can we can do something along that
We
line.
need it for the project because it's for the sidewalk and the lighting. I think that this will get worked through. It's just difficult to do it. It would look very bad if we lost this because this project keeps getting bigger and bigger and more needs to be done. And all of a sudden you have a gap in the middle of the project. So DECD, Department of Economic Community Development, is working on it with HUD.
Is Tammy Knight your contact at DUCD?
No, it's Deborah.
Oh, it's Deborah Johnson. If you want, I can even follow up and see what might be able to help.
Yeah,
Just
she's trying.
okay.
No, you'll contact. You're taking the lead on that. Or,
Yes,
kind
yes,
of
I'm
wanting to
working
get the
on that.
council involved with this.
Yes, I keep calling them.
Okay. Any other councils? Yes, Craig.
Yeah, can we just, for everybody's edification, can we review the financial piece on this, like what our obligation is right now, what we have set aside, what this additional earmark is, and just go over that as part of this project, just so that everybody
Yeah,
kind of has a
sure.
reminder.
Let's, Catherine, do you have numbers you share? I think if you wanted to, Jared, you had mentioned the consultant of $75,000, and for clarification, that was
That's total cost. So that would be split
total
for
cost
of the planning partnership initiative.
okay.
And that would be split 50-50
So
DOT.
the planning partnership is separate from the project that we previously had.
Yes.
And that, by reference, you mean the Main Street and the sidewalks.
Correct. And the work with the electrical, the tree plantings, benches, all of the other items.
I thought I remembered last time that we said that that would all be rolled up as one project.
Well, I think the initiative that Jared is here to talk about has been above and beyond that ongoing project. It's related because the timing would be smart for us to do it all at the same time, and that's where you start.
Okay,
to
so
lose
we were going to
definition.
halt the current project until this picks up because
The current project's going to go. I don't see why we would halt that for this.
Yeah.
rolling it all
You
together.
integrate, right?
Well, no, right, but didn't you say we're going to halt the current one until we get this figured out?
Well,
thought-
if we're moving forward with this, we would have to halt our current project because we would be redoing, or we had talked about potentially having to cut pavement to put in sidewalks and different things. There would be different
Okay.
designs of sidewalk. If I recall right.
No,
that's what
I misheard you. I was thinking-
Yeah, if you do elect to do a PPI, the current project that's in the work plan would be halted.
Halted. Okay.
And the PPI, the idea behind doing the PPI is you've got a vision and you've got a sort of a collection of projects for the downtown that do go beyond the scope of what the work is in the current work plan. And this is an opportunity to put this into a document, a report that could then be used to inform future engineering to do all of the stuff that's in this sort of current building vision, to really flesh that out and get a coherent and comprehensive vision and plan, which will then lead to the new geometry and what your downtown will look like.
That's what I thought.
Okay, so the intention is final consolidated project,
Yes.
bring this in. So if I may go back one more about the 75,000, so that's the total amount that the town will have to do sidewalks, benches, crosswalks, lights, whatever?
That's what's just going to go for the plan, just the
Just
study.
the planning, okay.
Vision.
All right.
Now-
Okay, all right.
One of the reasons to go down that is the project that you're looking at is, or considering, is something that would qualify under what we call the Big Village Partnership Initiative. And with that program, it's 80% federal, 10% state, and 10% local. And these start at a minimum of $5 million. So you would be getting, let's say you did a $10 million project, you'd be getting $10 million worth of infrastructure for a $1 million investment. It does seem like a big ask right now. You put it up to bond, you put it into a TIF district. It's the chance to really get major transformative infrastructure projects done for like the next 100 years. And this isn't doing it traditionally. How we've operated is, you know, the New England sort of down east way. We'll do a little bit here, a little bit there. This is coming in once and done, but more effective than the Johnson & Johnson shot. It will actually work. I can attest to that. We've got the Johnson & Johnson. Oh boy. It was a rough week.
So, can I go back to, so if we halt, theoretical time frame that we would be looking at, because there's some projects that have already been halted. Part of this project has already been halted, from my understanding, for like 2+ years because of what you were just discussing, COVID, obviously. So, we have a few towns, or a few roads in this town that were severely impacted by this not being done. Waverly Avenue being one of them, and or I'm sorry, Madawaska Avenue being one of them. And just wondering how much further we're pushing that down the road to be involved in this project. So from the time that we start the consulting phase to agreement on the project to project start, what are we looking at?
We got a 9-month planning process, you said.
Yeah, the planning process would be about 9 months. It would, do you think it would push things back? Maybe.
Depending on your scope of work and what you're looking at, it could be anywhere from 2 to 3 years. It would be my best guess.
Could push things back 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
Is there a possibility to phase some of that, like if there are some things that are more pressing that are part of the current project?
To work on the major project, and then if the rest are not superficial, that'll kind of demean the function of it, but something that can be done not necessarily in conjunction with major work.
Right. Like if there's a project that wouldn't be affected by the change of a sidewalk or the change of the appearance.
I think we'd have to, I don't know if we can answer that until we have the planning process done to see what is necessary.
Yeah.
We may say, well, we want something that has to be done when the roads and sidewalks are done, or we want benches and flowers. I don't know.
Right. No, I get you.
I mean, certainly we have the experts here. Let's hear from them on that. If you have anything you want to add.
We had a discussion with Catherine regarding some of what the town may be looking conceptually. She mentioned upgrading sewer and water, doing a total upgrade of that. That is something that really would prohibit us from really moving forward with the current project, because that would impact the entire length.
So this PPI could be used for that.
The PPI, if you want to put that in the scope of work to address, you know, utilities, drainage, it can be added into the scope of work. And what is something that can come out of the scope of work from the PPI is we do ask the consultants to provide a phasing plan. Ideally, we don't to phase things. We want this to just come in and have it done. But we do say, please put in a prioritization and phasing plan within your final draft report.
Or at least a potential working phasing plan.
Um,
One second. Council? Anything else, Eric?
I mean, just a comment. I mean, there's a potential you can get 10% of investment. If we invest 10% and everyone else invests 90%, I mean, would it be smart for us to? And I'm a little ignorant on the whole scope of the Main Street project, the sidewalks. A little ignorant to the whole thing, honestly, because I wasn't here from the beginning. But could we just pave it, like just skim coat it to make it tolerable for a few years?
Well, that's kind of what you did last fall, right?
But not down on Madawaska Road. I mean,
to
that's,
his point, yeah, he's talking about Madawaska Ave, which is terrible. Is there a Band-Aid like we did from CM Brown up to the hospital? Is there that type of Band-Aid that we can do from Corner Cupboard to somewhere on Madawaska Ave?
I mean, it sounds wasteful, but it also sounds wasteful to jump the gun and say, no, we're doing this project and we're going to throw this idea out the window. That sounds wasteful.
Right.
So theoretically, if we do continue this path and we don't anticipate any major construction for another 2 or 3 years, that still needs to be addressed. So what you're saying, can that be addressed under this umbrella?
Right. That'd be phase
So you
one.
know the road we're talking about, North Main Street, keep going straight to Madawaska. I mean, it was been done a couple of years and it is rough.
It's bad.
I don't actually have a definitive answer for that. It's not in the work plan now.
Is it something that you can circle back with Catherine and send her some?
Is that information that is available to you?
It's not information that is available. It's a discussion that we could have. I don't want to make any promises. It's
Right.
No, understood. I mean, it's certainly something we'd be interested in seeing if it's optional. I mean, see if it's possible. You as here in your function and us here in our function, if that's something that could be put on tape. Because if not, then we'd have to take it out of our budget somewhere and make it unrelated to this project. If we do the 2 or 3 year, then we would say, well, can we have everyone wait 2 or 3 years to pay that, or do we bite the bullet, put it in the budget, and get it taken care of, knowing in 2 or 3 years it's going to be brought up again?
I'll go do some digging.
Pardon the pun.
I don't want to say. Don't hold your breath. That's what I want to say.
Okay.
And we're gonna need some type of assurance, so we said the funding wouldn't lapse, but if you're gonna push out 2 or 3 years, we'll make sure none of that funding goes away.
Understood.
Because, pushing 1 year is one thing.
Well, I assume you gentlemen gave us a 2 or 3 years. I mean, based on your experience and what you determined the scope to be. If we're 2 or 3 years out and the money's not going to be there, I mean, the conversation essentially is over. Correct? I mean, can we continue on thinking that in 2 or 3 years that the money will still be available? I mean, is that, or am I making an assumption here?
We know that there's funding for 5 years in legislation.
Okay.
That being said, nothing is ever certain, and it's been a while. 2020, 2021. My fortune cookie said 2022 was going to be my year. I'm hoping that's going to be the same for Pittsfield.
Well, thank you for sharing the good fortune with that. I do feel better now. Okay.
So on all the grants that the town has, the large ones, we do have several years on these, but we have to start them. We're required to start them. So we're going to have to figure out how we can start them in this arena by maybe doing some of the planning part or the engineering part so that we get it started so we don't lose the money, and then try to get an amendment. Because several of these we'd have to do that on.
Right.
Is the PPI, if we enter into the PPI, is that starting? Technically starting it, and
If you enter into the PPI, you're starting down a process.
then we're starting, so you shouldn't lose that.
Yeah, we'll have to do more.
Right.
But the
Well,
ARPA funds are good for 4 years, so we should be all set there.
4 years from when?
From the award date, and this one was just awarded on the DEP. Yeah.
So after I'm done.
I'm going to contact all the funders and go through some scenarios here.
Yeah.
What would be the funds that we possibly lose? What's the total?
Well, we're having issues with the CDGB, but there might
Which
be.
is how much?
Might be, that's the $250,000 for the sidewalk. That's the original one that's been hanging around for a while. Now, there's been reasons why that's happened. It's pretty clear. You can't go ahead and build a sidewalk and then think the road's all going to match up. I mean, that's wrong. So far, we've been okay, but it's been a while. So they're working with HUD, with the state, trying to figure out how to do this. So I suspect we're not going to get the amendment, and they're going to try to write a new grant for us or something. They've said if we can spend the money for something in the downtown and give them bills following the state requirements, that they would like to give us the money now. But there's not enough that was done that we could.
Could we use that skim coat Madawaska?
We actually did talk about some of the roads and some of the paving that we're going to do, and could we count that? So that's an item that's under review too.
Madawaska is a state road, right?
It's a state road, so we can't go down there.
So
I'm throwing out ideas because
Yeah,
there's
it's
an issue
not-
whether we should spend money.
Sure.
If we can't spend money with the DOT and the PPI to skim coat that, if it's going to be 2 or 3 years, or if we have to consider to put a budget item in and painfully pay for it ourselves, or if the CDBG is tenuous right now because it's not being used. Can we use that and firm that up and use that for the Skimco? I'm just throwing out options here. Because it's one of these things, it's like a Chinese puzzle. You get 4 or 5 pieces that have to go together at the same time to even put this together, and we're still looking for the 5th piece.
So one
That's what it feels
one
like.
of the items may be, and the state had brought this up, that we would sign a contract with DOT on the project and transfer the money over to them. But of course, we're not sure what the project will be right now totally, but that way it would be expended to the DOT. That is the idea.
And
So we'll work on these.
those funds would go towards our 10%.
It would go toward our project, whichever funding it needs to go toward. It would go toward the work on the sidewalk, which DOT would put into their plan and administer the whole thing and bid out the whole project. It's an idea. I thought it's an idea.
Gentlemen in the audience, here, so, please, if you could identify your name and where you're from. And
I'm Al Tempester. I'm from Dexter, and I'm your code officer for the town. I've been here for a year, and some of you have met me, and I make some people happy by showing up, and I make other people happy by leaving.
what are you going to do for us tonight?
Well, I'm going to ask about work in kind. If the town has to replace water mains or sewers, can they use that work in kind to decrease their 10% cost?
I would have to look into the specifics of what the program is. I don't have the answer off the top of my head.
I know it's happened in other towns, and they couldn't wait for the grant, and they had to replace a sewer, and that worked against their 10%.
It really does depend on the funding source and what the program is. So, like if you did a CDBG project and you wanted to have an in-kind match, Wade Davis, the big Wade Bacon Davis, I would get it mixed up.
Oh, yeah, there's all the rules.
It falls into place, and so it becomes a whole different kettle of fish. It's a great question, and it's just one that I'll follow up on where in-kind can play into some of this.
I'm going to ask all the funders if there's a delay of 3 years, what happens? Telling them this is just a scenario.
And again, Cap, if you were going to give us a total on what our funding, what we
Yes.
have available for funding.
Yes. We have a total funding toward this project of $2,194,227. So $2.1 million. Of which some of this, $353,000 is matching on the Madawaska Road. We were able to count it in as part of the match. So the actual project would be $1.8 million that we have for funding.
So what's up in the air now is the CG,
CDGB, which they're working on, I think
and that
they'll
was
find a solution.
250,000, right? So we stand to lose that.
I think they'll find a solution, but it's going to take a while. We would have the Clean Water State Revolving Loan. That can delay a little bit, but we have to do some work on that, which we are. The DEP ARPA grant, we're going to have to do some work on that. We have the Northern Regional Border Commission grant, and they've encouraged me to start.
So my question is, would that entire lump sum be considered that would be our portion? So in the scenario that you gave us earlier, let's say we have the 1.8 million, that would unlock, 9 times that? So if I can do math quickly, 16.5 million in matching funds from federal and
Right now, that is the theory. Some of that we can apply, others may not necessarily apply, and that's what I'm still waiting to get the answer on. The current grants that you have, what can we apply to the big shebang BPI? Your town is sitting on a pretty good reserve. You know, if you were a town going to war, you've got your foreign reserves built up.
Kind of are, aren't we?
In a way, you're battling the future of concrete wear.
I'm going through a whole roller coaster of emotions with you tonight.
I'm
First, I
sorry.
feel good fortune. Now we're talking about going to war. Okay.
So is there a threshold that you have to meet in order to get the federal funds in there? You know, do we have to come up with a project so big, threshold in order to get that funding, or you can get it for even this amount?
No, it's really it's defined by the scope of work.
Okay.
And one thing that we do look at is, let's say your scope of work in the end of the study turns out to be slightly small, that maybe it's not going to actually get what the feds are looking for. We would partner your town with another town and lump those together.
Okay.
That being said, based on Pittsfield's population and the actual size of your downtown, you'd probably be a standalone town.
Okay.
So let me ask one question, then I'll get to Eric. So here's a what if. So I will poll the council and see which way they want to go here, because what you need to leave with tonight is a yay or nay from the council. So if we say yay, what's the next step? What does that trigger? What will we expect in the next month or 2 or 3? What do you expect from us? Will we have a more detailed, bullet points or a list of whole things to do type of thing?
Yes, if there is a yay from the council, this week I'm going to be in Aroostook County for the whole week, but once I get back, I'll contact Catherine. I'll set up a date to come to town. I want to meet with maybe the mayor, the council member, Public Works, other people who are interested in the project. I'll do a sort of an initial site visit. We'll walk where the initial vision and ideas are. We'll talk about what the problems are, what the idea of what the future of it could be. I get a draft scope of work done. That usually takes me about a week to get those out. There's kind of a template for it, but we do try and make them as specific. It's funny. It's funny. They're generic because we don't want to tell the consultant to give a prescription, but we try and make them as specific and targeted to the vision of the town. If you give me a yay, you have not entered into a contract. You have not, said to DOT, we've got a verbal agreement, you can back out. I would like you not to once I start making a draft scope of work, once I start getting the ball rolling. And Randy would like to have an answer too, so he can take his resources to another project. But I just start the ball rolling, and the process would be draft scope of work, we agree on the scope of work, get an MOU out, we go to contract, we get an RFP out, then you start selecting your consultant.
Okay. All right. Yes, Eric.
If the town hired, I know we already talked about consultants, but I'm thinking more like a construction manager. Like if we had someone, the town had a point of contact, someone that was devoted to this project, besides a consultant, that could help organize the thoughts and the plans and really expedite this. I mean, I know we talked about 2 to 3 years, but could you do this in 12 months if you really push it? Or is this like, there's no way, there's too many roadblocks, there's too many...
It's a pretty prescribed program.
Okay.
I don't want to, because there's still a lot of things that I don't know yet about. We don't know, just who knows, to be honest. But I would say that there's a process that we have to go through, and if the town wanted to hire their own consultant outside of the process to help them with things, that's the town's decision.
Well, I just feel like a lot of times waiting for responses on questions or getting answers like that is a tremendous burden on the process. Something that sits in someone's inbox for 3 days because they're busy doing something else, and they finally get you an answer. Well, that's 3 days you had to be able to work on. I mean, if you can streamline this thing out and have someone that's their forte, I would feel like it would be the town's best interest. I'm not saying we do it, but I'm just saying if we were going to try to move this thing along professionally, I think that would be a good effort. I don't know what the answer looks like, but I think
It's certainly something to think about, and I agree with you on that, because 2 to 3 years, that seems to be a long drawn-out process, especially something that's been talked about for 6 years now,
right.
5 years.
And who gets earmarked with all that work, right? Who from the town of Pittsfield is going to respond to all these questions? We're going to have someone. Someone needs to be...
Yeah, no, understood.
What's the fastest turnaround you've ever done?
I'm going to say Brent.
We're getting along so far, guys, come on.
What is the fastest turnaround you've done? Year and a half?
I've been here for 8 weeks.
Oh.
I will say I am very expedient at responding to emails. Nothing sits in my inbox for 3 days.
I was talking about your end.
So, anyone from the audience have any questions or comments for Jared? Yes, please.
Can
Randy?
you just clarify when you're talking about 2 to 3 years, that's not the planning, that's like planning is done and you're actually putting pavement down, you're digging things and you're doing things. And then from that point, like completion, because some projects can take 1.5 or 2 years to complete or longer, especially when you're talking about a major renovation of the downtown. So then you're looking at maybe 5 years before the project is actually completed. Is that realistic?
I think you're probably accurate because you're going to go through the planning process. You're going to come up with your conceptual plan. And from that point, then you will develop your construction plans, go through the permitting process. You're going to work, there's going to be consultations with Maine Historical Society. There are historical districts in this area of project that you'll have to consult through, and depending on what your scope of work is can impact the amount of time, or what your concept is could impact the length of time for the permitting process as well.
So something else that you just said makes me think too, as far as like the scope of work, our initial project that's kind of on the table and it's been kind of paused a little bit while this conversation's happening, that goes pretty much from where Somerset Ave intersects here at the light down to just past, just before or just past the industrial park. I think just before the industrial park. Do we have the ability within our scope of work, developing this planning and everything, to extend that all the way up to the hospital and then further down within that area? I mean, is that the part where the town gets to say we actually want to have our downtown part be extended in order to have additional economic development opportunities? Because right now our downtown part is very limited because we're kind of hemmed in by a river, the hospital, the MCI campus, and then our industrial park. And it's kind of a narrow focus of what our downtown is versus expanding that out. Because once we have like a downtown designation of other spaces, that opens up those spaces to other opportunities for development.
The scope of work is defined by the town, and there are towns that are. I've got a draft scope of work out right now for one municipality that has a historic downtown center, but their projected development and growth is beyond that, and so the scope of work goes where they say the start is and where they say the end is.
So we have the ability to stretch that out.
Yeah, it's your scope of work.
We don't have to stretch it in a straight line either, right?
As long as you are within nexus to a state or state aid road, and you can justify why it's a transportation need and economic improvement for your town, let's see why not.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's the depth of your support group? Is it just you do? How many people work on this project?
So DOT Bureau of Planning, we have right now on staff, we have 4 planners. We are interviewing for another assistant director of planning who would also be a planner, and we're looking at adding on 1 more. So we've got almost a full roster. When it comes to getting into the actual process of doing the PPI, I would be coming to the meetings. Marty Rooney, who is the PPI director for DOT, he would come to a couple of the meetings. It would be the consultant, it would be me, Marty a couple times, and then...
How many other projects are you juggling at the same time?
We are looking at, in total, we'd like to have 20 PPIs on the go in a year. I've got 4 that I think are going to go to contract within the month. And so I would like to have 5 from my regions spread out between, well, I have half of the state of Maine,
So
but
are you're the main director of all,
I would be the main consultant. Yeah.
because I'm just looking at, suppose you decide to move on to another company, are we going to be set back 2 or 3 months to try to catch back up where we should have been?
Unless DOT fires me, I don't plan on going anywhere, and I am like toenail fungus. I get in and under there, and I don't go away. I love transportation planning and the people of the great state of Maine.
Okay.
Is that satisfactory, Brett?
I guess so.
Pretty good analogy, huh? Would prefer something other than fungus, but it's okay. What was me? Anything
I
else?
called myself a nobody earlier.
No worries. Anyone else? Comments, questions? Okay, so what I will do now, unless you gentlemen have anything else that you want to offer. So what I will do now is poll the council with a yay or nay. A yay will be giving these gentlemen the affirmative to start the process, start the ball rolling, so to speak, working on the PPI, and I guess we hear back from you shortly, then we'll have an idea for our next step, probably get into the like I said, the RFPs and the consultants, and then, okay. Any final questions on that, council? A nay would be, we are not interested in PPI, we're staying back with the original sidewalk and Main Street project. All right, so all council in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Very good. We will work with you gentlemen, so that is your yay to take it and kick it off.
Well, thank you. We'll be in touch next week and get things rolling.
Well, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it. If there's anything that you would need from us as a council, please, I believe you have my contact info. If not, you get it from Catherine or it's on the website. And then if there's anything that you can suggest that we do in the background in the meantime, you know, it's going to be a big project to get going here. And just to define the scope, one thing, trying to wrap my head around getting the feedback from not only the council but involve the community, and how that's done, who we involve, and how often, and whatnot.
That's going to fall on the consultant. That's what they're paid to do, and that's what we put in the scope of work, is the public process. Just keep me posted on the CDBG progress. It's just good to know how that's going, and if you need any extra, assistance with that, I'll try and do what I can. I do have a relationship with, the DECD folks with CDBG, and we're within the Bureau of Planning. We are working hard to have more coordination and communication with other state agencies, particularly DACF, DECD, DEP, so that we can be efficient and effective in delivering projects for our communities.
And there's the salesman. Everyone's in sales now, really.
Well,
All right.
if I do anything else, it's used cars.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome to stay if you like. I'm sure you have bigger and better fish to fry. Right?
It's my birthday.
Oh, it is. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one. All right, we shall move on to Part B of the presentations, congratulations, and introductions. So Mr. Bigu has an item he'd like to present. So, Peter, I will yield the floor.
Well, thank you very much. I've got something I want to share with you. Before I do, I want to give you a little history. 67 years ago, I moved here. And when I moved to Pittsfield, this community was very robust. The Main Street was unbelievable. We had a Lancy's house. The mills were active. The community was very, very involved. A number of community clubs, women, men. It was unbelievable. And over a period of time, about 25 years, it went away, went right downhill. The Lancy House went away. That side of Main Street, where our office is located, was all wooden structures, every one of them vacant and abandoned. Main Street was a mess. Where we sit was a town hall. The office didn't occupy, this office didn't occupy that building because it was totally dilapidated. And we were operating in a wooden building down by Frosty's Garage, a white building there. That was a town office, rented, leased. And also the fire department, one bay, with the trucks outside. It was disgraceful. 1976, a group of people got together and we changed this whole community. In about 5 years. Literally 5 years. Across the street where that park is were old wooden abandoned buildings. Old warehouses and a shop and a woodworking facility and God knows what. By Hathorn Park on the corner where the senior citizens was the old Hathorn farm, abandoned. We called it a beehive. We got senior citizens housing in there. Now, this is 5 years now. An industrial park. We were dumping our water and our sewer in a river. We had no treatment plant. We got interceptor sewers. We got the sewer system built and the treatment plant down by your property. We built an industrial park. We attracted a bank to where the Lancy House is. Waterville Savings Banks at the time, now Bangor Savings Bank. I convinced the Chinquette brothers, they never forgot it, and they were pretty upset about it, to build their office over there. And life went on, and we really did well for a period of years. Now I'm suggesting you take a good, serious look at this community. I'm fighting like hell to get people to come here. Take a look around this community. Take a real good look around what we look like today compared to what we looked like 25 years. Now, I've been here 67 years, so I know what we look like in the good, the bad, and now it improved. Now the ugly is once arrived. So it seems to go in about a 25-year cycle. And we need to change that. Now, I'm not here to criticize you. I've been where you've been. So please understand, I have. And I did that until I was relocated to Washington, D.C. for a period of years to go build a dam on the Potomac River. And that's when I had to leave the council. And the town has flourished from time to time. But it's time now that we start looking to the future. Because we're in a downhill slide. I come into this office. Before I attempt to call in here to talk to the town manager, 3 different times got put on hold for 10 minutes each. Okay? I'm just a citizen. I know that. But I also know the company I'm responsible for pays 20% of the taxes for this community. Go do the numbers. We employ 500 people here every day. Now, they're not all from Pittsfield. And we've busted our tails to get Puritan to come here. We own that building. And then convinced them, and we put a deal together with SAS to acquire that land and gift it the Puritan people to get them to build the second facility here. That's over 500 jobs there. Count them up. This little company that I represent has 5 locations in the state of Maine. We choose to pay all 100% of our excise taxes in the town of Pittsfield. I've been beat up in the city of Brewer, complained in Falmouth, Portland, and other communities say, how come you don't excise your community in our city or our community? I guess I don't know why. It's because I live here. And it's because I care. I'm not here to criticize. But what I see right now in this community is unacceptable. This is your community. We don't have a code enforcement officer full-time. That's disgraceful. Do you know what we went through to try to get a building permit to destroy that building, that warehouse up there, that vandalized building over here, the Wright Mill? We still don't have a piece of paper. We knew what the permit cost. We came in, dropped off a check at the town office. We're moving forward. This office has got to be open more than 4 days a week, and it needs to be more than 2 people in this office. That's unacceptable. We work all over this state. I've been in a number of offices, and they're fully staffed, and there are people present. And that's unacceptable. We put 500 people to work over here every single day, and we haven't stopped. For 2 years during COVID, you didn't see anybody that would in this office building, or in these shops, and in this yards. The world goes on. And I'm asking for help. I'm also asking you, and I'm going to give you a package, each one of you, to look at. This is your town. This is a sampling of what your town looks like today. And we're going to go through them, if you give me the opportunity to do this, one at a time. This is just a sample of what we look like. Today. And it's deplorable. And it's unacceptable. And it's not who we are. We're a hell of a lot better than that. And I ask you to ask me, what the hell am I spending $2 million a year in taxes for in this town? Can anybody tell me that? I'm asking for your help. I'm not blaming you. I'm not being critical. I'll tell you what. We're better than that. So, let's start with the first page. Right across the street. This is your Main Street. There's a gas station over there. Those vehicles there, they're not registered, they're not licensed, they're junk, they're full of trash, and they've been sitting there for years. Okay? That's the middle of your town. The next page is the back of that building and our church, the Universalist Church. Doesn't that look wonderful? The next building is the old Ford garage. Take a good look at that. Take a good look at that building. You're looking at the top and the front. It's been vandalized. It's open to the public. People and kids get in there. The second page, the roof is collapsed. This growth of plants and stuff in there, and there's a foot of water on the floor. It's unsafe. It's been vandalized. Next building. Next page. That's the industrial park. That's a fence company there. And if you look at the covenants in the state in the town about the industrial park, and I know it quite well because I was involved in writing much of that information it requires, there's no not supposed to be any open storage outside. Read the covenants of your industrial parks. It's supposed to be unseen. There should be vegetation around. You shouldn't be able to see it. Look at it. Oh, and by the way, when they have trash, they pile it up on the side, in the field, adjacent to that, in the industrial park, and they burn it. You'll see a pile there. You won't see it there today, because about once every 6 weeks, they have a big fire and they burn it down. And then you see, there's a trailer park, I call it, mobile home park, across the way. These are samplings. If you drive in that park to see exactly what's in that park. It's disgraceful. The trash isn't removed. There's no accountability. So, next page, Teltoma Avenue. Within 200 feet of one another, there's 3 structures. Take a look at it, the pictures. Look at the conditions of the structures. This is your home, folks. This is your town. This is what we tolerate. Is this what we want to look like? All we're doing is inviting war. What are the standards? What are we saying to the abutting neighbors of these properties? We're insulting them. Why? We're devaluating their neighbors' properties because we tolerate this. Take a look at this project up on North Main Street. Isn't that a beautiful home? Isn't that a beautiful home? And how do you see it? Roofs collapsed, the fire burden, and folks, I'm counting here and including only a few properties. This is just taking the different regions and sections of town. Look at Detroit Avenue. Isn't that wonderful? And that whole neighborhood down there. Just take a peek. And what are we communicating to our neighbors? What are we communicating to people outside? Is this what we want or expect? And this hasn't just happened in a year. This has been tolerated. Go down in South Main Street. Look at the vehicles. These are cabs just stored outside with all this junk and trash on the outside. Look at the buildings down off of Detroit Avenue. Boarded up, burned up, windows broken. Rat-infested facilities. The people complain about it, but nothing gets done. And it goes on and on and on. And all I ask you to do is look at some of these pictures. And this isn't all of it. This is nothing more than a sample of what exists in your community. These are great. This is the entrance of town on South Main Street. The trash. Look at the trash. The abandoned structures. We do nothing. Right across here from our town hall, that Quonset hut. Go look at it. Look at the trash. It's a rat-infested hole. And people have complained about it for years, and nothing happens. I saved the best for last. I want you to look at Webb Road. There's 3 or 4 pages of what is Webb Road. It's disgraceful. There's an open sewer down there and a pond where they dump their sewer for the people that are in those trailers and campers and stuff. Go look. Go look. They don't take the trash away. They don't take the garbage away. Look at the junk. I'll guarantee you, if you walked in there and you saw those people, it'll make you ill. If it won't make you ill, you're not you. And I'm asking you to help. Look at the trash. Look at it. This isn't a scrapyard or a junkyard. I have a little bit of insight about what goes on here. And it's not a nice thing to talk about. Okay? So I'll leave that up to others to determine what goes on there, but it isn't pretty. Just look. So, I'm asking you to take some action. I'm asking you to give the authority to a code enforcement officer and support their needs. And it's more than 1 day a week. Effort. 40 years ago, again, 40 years ago, we started turning this community around. The people I worked for at the time, the Chinkat brothers, created what is called Forest Park. 40 years is a long time, right? There hasn't been one lick of paving improvements or repair done up there in 40 years. Go see what those people up there paid in taxes. We might say we only have so much of a budget to pay for. What you could have bought paving 2 years ago, what you would have paid for a ton of paving in place 2 years ago will now cost you 2 times that, if not more. So we keep delaying these things, the holes get bigger, and the roads get in worse condition, and we just keep putting it on and pushing it down the road. And what are we doing? We're crippling the future of this community. I'm not being critical of you as individuals. I'm asking you for some help. This town has been there before. I want you to know that. It's been there before. It was that way in 1975, and I know what we did in less than 6 years. We turned this place upside down. Now it's time to turn it upside down again and go at it and turn it around. And I ask you for your help. Thank you very much. I'll take any questions.
All right, Peter, thank you. Any questions from the council or audience? Yes, Brent. Hey, Peter?
Peter, how did you come up back in those days? How did you come up with all the funding?
Pardon me?
How did the town come up with the funding?
We got creative. We rolled up our sleeves. We got grants. We did all kinds of stuff. This, look, we got to work at this. Okay, we got EDA grants. We got a fund for the industrial park. We the water, the sewer. It was disgraceful. Now we focused every day and we worked at it, and it wasn't just me. It was a team. Go look at the pictures. They're all listed right there. Okay, and we borrowed some money. But I mean, when you borrow money for 1%, and you still borrow money for 1%, just do the. If you're worried about borrowing money, just think of it in these terms. You can go out and borrow money, federal money, state money, at a very reasonable rate. If you simply just look at what you can get something done for today versus what inflation is going to be 3 or 4 or 5 years out there, you're way ahead of the curve to act now instead of delaying. Does that make any sense?
Yep. Well,
And if you go out, If you just look at, what's the inflation rate in a year, the last year? Can anybody tell me? I don't know. Can you tell me? 5%, 10%?
8%.
Huh?
8 now.
So just do the numbers. And so, but more than that, the condition of the facilities get worse as time goes by. So it's not just the cost you're paying or the inflation, it's the condition of the facility. I mean, we just see some of these streets and the condition of the roads and the folks. And now we're talking about going down Main Street. Just remember, that little road on Main Street here, out here, all the way up through there, that was built in 1936. It is a concrete highway. And guess what? If you think you're going to put a new sidewalk in, and you think you're just going to go make it look pretty for a few years, you're sadly mistaken, because the water and the sewer was date back to 1936. And guess what happens? If you go make that pretty now, and you pave it, and go over it, and the sewer goes to hell a year from now, what are you going to do? You're going to have to dig it up. And it isn't like going out and digging asphalt pavement. You're going to have to cut open a concrete slab. The curbing on that street right now is contiguous to the concrete pavement. The curbing was poured with the pavement. That's why, and it's all broken up, of course, because the steel, the reinforcement steel's up there. You'll see it if you look close enough when you go up the Main Street. So if you're going to fix it right, but get the water and the sewer corrected, because if you don't, I can tell you right now, you know what people are doing on Main Street when their sewer goes to hell? You know what they're doing? Because it's so expensive to break into the concrete highway, they're running the pipes in the back and tying it in down below on Lancey Street. Did you know that?
If the neighbor will let them cross their property.
If the neighbors let them cross the property. That's no way to fix our problems. And the more you do that, the more capacity you eat up on that poor sewer line that was designed for those houses on Lancey Street when you start putting the sewer down on Lancey Street. That's not the way to do it. But that's what we're doing. It's a makeshift thing. So, please, I'll help any way you want. I'm more than happy to share our resources to help the town, but our future's in your hands, and we'll support you any way we can. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Much appreciated, sir.
I got another question.
Yeah.
This one's for Al. Al, as a code enforcer for other towns,
Yeah.
if you, some of these places that, are bad, and a lot of it's just it doesn't take money, it just takes cleaning up. Are you able to go up to, in other towns, go up to the person and say, you have X amount of time to clean this up, if not, you'll be able to fine?
No, you just can't hit them with a fine. You have to take them to court. You have to give them a 30 days notice, then you have to take them to court. The sheriff has to serve them, then you go to court.
But other towns are doing that.
I hit a home run in Dexter. It's taken me 5 years. I got a $100,000 judgment against 2 properties that one gentleman owned. And he is cleaning to beat the band.
You what?
He's cleaning.
Oh,
He did
okay.
2 lots in town with the junkyards. But it took me 5 years to get there. And I will tell you, COVID didn't help anything.
What about some of these places like say the one on Nancy Street, and even this one on Somerset Avenue? Oh yeah, let's say they started to make some progress.
They did.
But there needs to be a more direct schedule. Say it 1 month from now there has to be this much progress. 2 months, because like both those places, they go out there and make a little effort, and then nothing happens for 5 months.
Well, the one on Somerset Ave, I hate to make excuses. The guy fell off the roof.
Right. And
He was 80 years old. He
Yeah.
broke his pelvis and his ribs and his sternum. And
Right, and I'm going to seem a little harsh, and I
Yeah.
brought this up before this meeting. That guy there, I feel bad for him, he fell and got hurt.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that does not relieve him of his responsibilities.
No, it does
Because
not.
there's many elderly people that can't go out and do their repairs in the house, but they pay to have it done. So when he fell and got hurt, he shouldn't be relieved of his duties.
Well, we thought he died. But the town's attorney and I talked to him because we were ready to go to court with him.
Yeah.
He said we should probably let this rest for a while until he's back on his feet. That was not my decision. That was
I would say, I'm
your
not sounding
town
harsh,
attorney.
but I wouldn't.
And then he
Without.
had it sold, and I guess they were real close. And I agree with you. That you're right.
Yeah, because if not, every person that can't do it themselves, that doesn't relieve them of their duties to keep their place up.
That's right. And it may be that Bob is here more than I am. That we got to revisit that with the attorney and say, okay, we've served them, we waited 30 days, let's go to court and get it over with.
That's the problem.
I agree with you.
So Al, let me ask you a question here.
Yeah.
What coverage does Pittsfield have with the CEO? 1 day a week, 2 days a week, hours a day?
You have my phone number.
No, I mean, it's a legitimate question.
Well, it is. Bob works Monday and Tuesday and Friday. And I answer any questions I've done. I issue plumbing permits, which has made it a lot easier for the local plumbers when they come to Newport and see me, and I issue
Right, so there's no one here in the office Wednesday, Thursday?
Wednesday, Thursday, he's here Friday, and I'm usually here Friday afternoon.
Okay, so we don't really have 40-hour coverage.
Well, you do and you don't. He's not here Wednesday and Thursday, but the office is also closed on Wednesday.
Well, yeah, that's part of the issue, though.
And I understand Mr. Vivian's problem with the phone. Pete. I have called to try to get a hold of Catherine or Bob, and I can't get through.
Well, that's another problem that us as a council will need to address. But if we have accessibility to a CEO, then as Pete had mentioned, and we're all seeing here, we've had this discussion before dozens of times since I've been on council from 2008 or whatever it was. And the whole thing is how much money. But we got to start doing it. But I've also heard stories that I know, and there's no comment on you. I'm not attacking you in any way, shape, or form. That's why I'm asking about the coverage to the towns, that we don't have a CEO available there when people need him. And to do this, and like you said, 5 years is probably a pretty decent hit rate to get that taken care of in Dexter, because we have one on not Lincoln, the other side of Lincoln Street, that it's been 10 years and it's worse now. He's no stranger to, you were on the council, we were talking about that other.
I try to be responsive. This gentleman here had called, you see me, you've come in and asked questions, and we try to get the answers right out as soon as we can. Now, I try to do that. I can't. I'm not going to stick up for.
No, I understand. Like I said, I'm not picking at you, and certainly not an attack. And with all due respect, I just want to realize that the fact that we have been talking about this before Peter brought this up, and I know it's something he had mentioned before, and the importance that you can't get any further photographs and show how important it is, and just how much this has been an issue.
Now, two of the properties are on their 30-day countdown to go to the attorney.
Right, but
And
the
I'm
fact
not
is,
gonna identify them, but-
we could pick at each property. We don't have the time for that. It's really not on the topic. We can look at a dozen ones and talk about each one. But the fact that we're finally putting teeth into what we've been saying for a long time, and it wasn't an easy decision on our part because of a lot of different factors. I mean, how much it's going to cost? I get that. We all get that. We all live in town. We all feel the pain like everyone else. But you have our support. Whatever you need to do this, because several of those pictures that Peter brought in, I wasn't aware of. One on Web Road, I had no clue.
Well, in the picture on Web Road, we can't use that when we go to court because we didn't have a subpoena to go do that.
Yeah, but right,
maybe
I know.
we'll use it and we'll review them.
I guess the point I make is not to pick on any specific things or even talk about minute details like that. The fact is that it's an awareness now, not only with the town and the people who live here, but with the council. Like I said, we haven't talked about that before, so what you need from support, please bring to us up here. If you're being hamstrung for whatever reason,
Yeah.
Lindsay, please go ahead.
Just a couple quick questions. Bob, pardon my ignorance, I'm new to the council, I'm trying to understand what the makeup of the town employee structure is. Is he a code enforcement officer as well?
Well, he's not a code enforcement officer yet, but
Okay.
he's close.
So what you described was about 30 hours of coverage, right?
Yes.
3, 8, and you're there. So
Yep.
we do have 30 hours of code enforcement work going on.
Well, 8 to 24.
24, and you're here
And then
half a
I'm
day
on
on
Fridays, and I know Catherine hates to give my phone number out, but some of the plumbers in town and some of the builders have it, and they've called me, and I've okayed stuff, and
Okay.
I said, I'll be there Friday, we'll do the permit, life will be good.
So somewhere between 24 and 28 hours a week, there is somebody that is accessible. And I guess as an action-oriented person, this is very disturbing to me. And I already know because I walk the community
Right.
all the time. So my question would be, it sounds like there's a couple of these properties that are undergoing the process. Can we make a plan in the short future, near term, to address the properties that are in this stack and then some, get the full list if Pete has it, and make a systematic plan over the next 3 to 6 months to tackle this problem with legal action?
I don't know if you can get them cleaned up in 3
No, I don't mean
6
necessarily
months.
cleared up, but
Get the ball
everybody
rolling.
can get a letter, everybody should be served with the beginning of the process in
Yeah.
short order, and then we pursue fairly aggressively this process that just the start of the 30 days costs us nothing but our time of our code enforcement team. Is that right? Or the help of a volunteer counselor, whoever. Like, I mean, we really should tackle it right away.
Right now, I'm the one that has to sign the letters to go out.
Right,
because-
so Al, can you use this, the pictures that Peter gave, can you use this as a start? And I'm sure, Peter, if you would, if Al needs some information, you'd be happy to,
I was not aware of a couple of those.
well, neither was I, because this is a good
This
start.
represents about a third of what exists in this town.
Yes, I agree with that.
This is
Right.
this is a fraction.
We're looking for a starting point.
Yeah, no, I get it, and this isn't going to be fun. This is
No, it's not fun.
this is not going to be fun. But I got to tell you what I don't understand. This is what I don't. This isn't about the code enforcement officer. What I really feel sorry about are the abutters and the adjacent property owners that have to deal with this obscene mess
Right.
in their neighborhoods and in their properties. That last 3 sheets of paper, I'm going to tell you, you want to bring the guns with you when you go there because there's some bad stuff going on. I don't have facts, but I will tell you what goes on there is not legal, and it's not just the housing, it's the activities.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell
It's
you,
a bad day, and you don't want to be going there.
when I started, I'm gonna tell you a quick story.
Very quick, please. We need to move on.
Steve had just retired, and he said, "Don't go there, go there with the police chief." I went and saw the police chief. He said, "Oh, you're fine. I went up and talked to him. You'll be all right." And the woman came out and talked to me, but she wouldn't let me go any further either.
It's a bad day. I want
Now
you
we
to
see
know.
why. Yeah, Jason.
So I had a couple quick questions. The places that are actually industrial buildings, I would imagine we can treat those different than a residential building.
Yes.
Like the friend and friend garage down here that's falling apart.
Yeah.
That's got to be treated differently. And
I-
should maybe be held to a different standard.
For some reason, I thought the town owned that building.
Well, if they do, they should tear it down, but I'm not, I don't think they do.
I'm sorry.
Town doesn't.
Down doesn't own that. But anyway, like Mr. Biggie said, for the guy on the corner, the EC Cycle over here, the old Redemption Center, those are, nobody lives in most of those
Ben's
places.
company.
What's that?
Ben's company in the industrial park.
Right. All those places should,
So the town
we
set
could
up
handle those a lot differently and a lot easier than
the
like a
industrial.
resident, and when you don't have to go to court, you don't have to, well, maybe you do, but it should be an easier process.
The industrial
I would think.
park should be way easier.
Right.
I have not seen the charter, and I have not had
Right.
a complaint about that.
So,
That's right here. in the
So that's-
rules. Here is the industrial park covenant. It
Okay.
reads, all storage on the premises facing any street shall be enclosed with committee-approved fencing and/or plantings at least 6 feet in height with the exception of openings for driveways. The purpose of the fence is so to preserve the aesthetic value of the surrounding area. That's your covenant.
So
As an
Al,
example.
so Al, could you get a copy from Catherine
Yeah.
of that and use that as, get the ball rolling to Lindsay's point and I think everyone else's point? This would be a good, I'll get to you, Brent. This would be a good point to start. You certainly have our blessing to move along. Brent,
I would,
please. Brent, you had that question?
Yeah. You work with Bob. How often do you, during the week, we'll say, ride around and look at properties and have an ongoing list, looking at them, saying there's improvement, no improvement, or whatever?
We do that.
Yeah.
We dedicate probably an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes or so.
So when you see a building that has a lot of junk clutter like some of these are, do we have a official form that you go out and stick on the door and say you're
No,
out of compliance and you need to start doing something?
We send them a letter. We send it certified and we send it regular mail and we type on it, sent certified and sent regular, so that if we have to start the 30-day clock,
Yeah.
we know when to start it right then.
Okay.
All right. Catherine, you had something quick, please?
Yes, very quick. The covenants for the industrial park are in the code enforcement office, and so they're on the books that are behind the desk. Al comes in on Fridays to assist Bob, who is learning the trade, because we had no qualified candidates for the
Right.
position, and you have 1 year to learn it. So we're having Al, now that he's feeling better from his injury, and able to work a lot, is helping Bob to move forward.
Yep. Well,
So we have
yeah.
24 hours of...
Yeah, we understand that. We've gone through that. Anything else?
Strictly, just from my own knowledge, how many letters do we have out there right now?
We have, I didn't send them, but I'm thinking we got 6. If he has done what we talked about last Friday, he should have 6 out.
Just from last Friday, or including last Friday's work?
Last Friday, yeah, which,
So was there?
including, let's say, Wednesday.
Yeah.
And you should have had them out Friday or Monday.
All right. Well, we got more to do. Very briefly, Heather, please.
Thank you, Al, for coming in tonight and talking about this. So 2 things I want to point out. Number 1, I want to point out that it's been on the council's budget planning proposals for the last few years to have full-time coverage for the code enforcement officer in order to do more of this work. It's been cut both times. It was one of the first things that was cut in the last 2 years budgeting. So it was not a priority. So I would encourage the council that if you are appalled by all of this and are ready to do that, then put that as a priority in your budget this coming year in the fall to keep that and maintain that line item in there for a full-time budget officer. Inspection officer.
Code officer.
Code officer. And then secondly, there is a limited amount of funds that was approved for taking people to court. That was also approved for half of what was originally asked for, and then reduced again after that. So the council has made attempts at doing this, but when it comes down to the budgeting part of it, it's been cut time and time again. And so that's the primary thing. I mean, we can talk about sending letters. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. And you can start all of those things that Lindsay talked about with getting the letter started and taking people to court, but you're going to wind up to a point where if nothing happens, you get to the point where everybody's ready to go to court. You then have to pick and choose which ones you're going to fund
Right.
to actually take to court. So there is some danger in doing that all at once, and I would encourage you to kind of like pick and choose the ones that you want to do. If there's a house that's just ramshackle and it's empty, that might not be as important as something like the Webb Road, which can certainly have health and safety implications to it. A building like the Easy Cycle, it's an eyesore. Is it presenting a present danger to people? Probably not. There are buildings on the list that are, so I would encourage you to look at them with a more global aspect and a long-range plan of what's going to happen with each of those.
We will have that discussion, during the budget season anyway.
If I could,
One more. You got something quick? We got a lot of business to do here tonight.
Yeah, we got a lot of important things to talk about.
Yeah, I understand. I understand.
Just on the Webb Road, I mean, there's a person that lives there year round. There's, you know,
Well, she
if
said-
I build a house, I have to get an occupancy
Yeah.
permit. How is this person even allowed to live here?
Well, she's not allowed to live there, and.
Well, she does.
I know she does. And
There's
we're
also,
trying
it
to-
looks like raw sewage going on the ground, so I would think,
We're trying to correct it,
okay.
okay?
Yep.
That's all I can, I really don't want
That's
to
good.
go
I know,
any
yeah,
further than
no,
that.
we're good.
Anything, Al, you want to wrap up?
Thank
here?
you, Al.
Yeah, some of these problems, Peter, that you have, didn't start last summer. They've been going on years for a while, you know what I mean? And I'm here, I'm just trying to put out fires. And the Webb Road is an issue, there's a couple others. We have hit, maybe not a home run, but second or third base on one. We got the woman to clean the trees up around so you can see the one on Patuma Ave, but maybe left a worse one.
This is not an indication of your performance. This is the indication of the town's performance,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So this is not you.
Yeah.
This is the town.
Okay, I feel
It's not
bad.
you. You shouldn't feel bad.
You know,
We appreciate everything
We're all
you do.
responsible for it. So
when I go to Newport Monday morning, Mr. Ricker calls me in his office and he gives me a list. He said, I want you to work on these. And it gets done. To go to court, you're looking at between 8 and 10,000 per case.
Yep.
Just so you know.
Can we use ARPA money to clean this up?
I'm sorry?
The ARPA money that we had left over, we can't. I thought we'd use that money for anything
For anything.
in the town
Yeah.
business.
That's going to be discouraged.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Use all
That's
that
a
stuff.
good point.
Yeah.
It's a good point. We could talk about that. Very good point.
We didn't disagree.
All right, we really need, is it important, very brief, I'll give you 30 seconds.
Okay, so my question for Al is, within the office, is your priority code enforcement or like issuing permits and doing inspections? Which comes first?
My
Okay.
job, the way I look at it, is to help people get permits. My job is not to put up roadblocks. I'm
So
there to
that's the
help people.
priority to get people moving in the right direction.
That's right.
And doing that versus.
And then the enforcement is the bad part of it, you know. That's why I said, some people like to see me come and some like to see me go. And that's the truth.
All right, anything else, council? We have a big docket tonight, and we'll be talking again, Al. Thank you for
Do you
bringing
mind
your
if I
time.
leave?
And thank you for, bringing this, where it is.
I didn't have something yet.
All right, thank you very much, Al. Appreciate your time. So let's move on to C, community economic development activities and events. Catherine, if you would please, briefly.
All right, very quickly. First, I'll just say Al has been very helpful, excellent. In terms of all of the grants that we have, the $1.8 million worth of grants, we have contacted all of the funders on the larger items and had asked about 1 to 1.5 years of delays. And with the exception of the CDGP, we were within the terms as long as we started and did some items. I will go back and ask if there is a 3 to 5 year delay, what exactly will take place or what we'll need to do. We will be able to get amendments. I think for some we can, some we will not be able to. So we have about 8 funders to talk to. 3 are major ones, the rest are small ones. So I'll leave it at that because we have been here a while. Thank you.
All right, Catherine, thank you. Number 4, public hearings, there are none. Number 5, reports. We'll start with the council committees. Finance committee, any report?
No.
No report. Ordinance committee?
No.
No report. Recycling committee?
No report.
Very good. Board and committee update for town council, Mayor Catherine.
The planning board will be holding a meeting next Monday evening at 7 p.m. in reference to some solar projects that need more time. One solar project will be coming in with a reapplication for the same exact project. and one solar project will be coming in with a minor amendment. This will give them both another year while they await the CMP studies that are holding up their projects, and then they will be eligible for 2 6-month extensions after that. And so that should be a brief meeting because the projects are almost the same as what was previously approved and then amended. Thank you.
On that, could you make a brief, quick change on that? You see, on A, you have the 3 committees listed. Could you do the same for B, the planning board? I can't think of anything else on there that would be called out.
I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
And if I will, let's go to town manager report.
All right, I'll be brief on that too.
Thank you.
You have the town manager's report. I did want to note that we've heard back from the Pittsfield Water Works, specifically with all of our associates, that the tests that they had taken, which showed that we did not have any of the bacteria that had happened within the hospital, the Legionnaires. When they had tested it, and then they took it to the professional testing lab, and there were, all our samples were fine, so that verified the work that they had done. And things have greatly improved in the hospital. Only a couple of areas were tested that had issues, whereas before there were multiples. It's clear that the issue is not in the town's water source because we did test right outside the building and it had the backflow and everything. So the issue was in the hospital, and this type of issue happens in large facilities. It usually doesn't happen in Pittsfield, but it's taken a lot of years to get here. Number 3, the staffing for the community swimming pool is going well. We've hired several people. Devin will be around to assist the new recreation director. And the pool is scheduled to open Monday, June 27th. The recreation forms were just printed out, and I believe picked up this afternoon. We have a Kennebec Valley Council of Governments General Assembly meeting that I'll be attending on behalf of the town. If anyone else is interested, you're certainly welcome to attend, and I can schedule you. The issue with the street crosswalk paint continues here. We've been unable to get any paint. MDOT was contacted. They're unable to get any paint. Calls have been made to Massachusetts vendors, New York, and so far no crosswalk paint. And as you can see, the crosswalks are pretty well gone. Last year we dealt with a situation, which is a chain supply issue, because we had a little inventory. We were able to get a few buckets, and then we did just the major crosswalks. So we did just the ones on the state roads. On the town roads, we did not do the side ones like we usually do, and that worked. But right now, there is no sufficient paint, and they tried to get some other types of paint that could work. And all it will be is because of the composition, it will just come up after a few vehicles go over it, or a few days go by. So they're still working on that. We had the work that was commissioned last October that had a chain supply issue with the furnace and the hot water heater downstairs. That just got done by AA Energy. They were very happy that the parts came in that they were waiting for. Number 7 is the town is eligible for $159,000 in 2022 airport infrastructure funding. So we actually don't have to be committed for that until 2025. It's kind of interesting. So we have time to figure out what projects we want to do. We'll probably apply for something, before the end of the year. We'll find out if it can be used toward the airport hangar project. We've been told so far no, but you never know as you explore these things. The bulk water sales are going very well. That was an item that Councilor Lodgeguys had been contacted by a company that wanted to do that. So that company's coming in almost every day now. So that should be lower cost in the town of Pittsfield because our costs are less than Newport and the other places that water was being hauled in from. Maine DOT has a whole variety of meetings and items that are taking place for contracts. The Boston Post cane process is carrying on. We have Mr. Al Wyman is back in town, so we're excited because he's a great guy, and he is working on the next presentation, having identified the older citizens. You'll be getting an update on the airport apron taxiway project meeting that we had, that was quite interesting. Open positions recruitment, I gave you a supplement on that. And so basically we filled some positions, we filled 2 highway positions, we were very fortunate. Some applications that I found in the files in a former employee's office looked good, so I gave them to our department head, and the people checked out, and it has worked out really well. Recreation is almost fully taken care of. Police is going to be a challenge. Clerical is going to be a challenge. Fire department has had trouble recruiting all along, and that's been going on. I think it started out first after COVID. The town managers was an issue, and it's continued on. Then it went to police, code officers, fire, and now it's into clerical and finance. So the number of pages on the MMA website is scary. But every job you can ever imagine is on there, so it's interesting, and we can get information on other jobs to help us with ours, which is good. What has worked out to be interesting is that I went out to all the usual sources, excluding the newspapers, because the ads can be up to $900 just for these tiny little ads. I used ZipRecruiter. I hadn't used that before. I couldn't use Indeed because of the issue that got run up with a former employee, so I'm still working on trying to untangle that. But I used the ZipRecruiter because they had a 6-day period and it was free. And so nothing much happened. I thought, well, I'll cancel this because it's going to have costs attached. And then I didn't. I just let it go. And I have not qualified applicants, but I have a lot of applicants now. So I have 6 interviews that we're scheduling. And we'll be looking for the right work ethic, the right attitude, the right personality. If somebody wants to learn, develop, and grow, we'll start from the beginning, because the attitude is the most important thing. So we've got a few interviews scheduled, so we'll keep moving on. The last item that I'll mention is the dispatch project that has been, I should mention the paving too. We did meet with Northeast Paving. They were very interested in working with the town, understood that the low bidder had been disqualified and that they would have to stay within their budget unless we amended that amount. They went out and looked at the different roads. They will give us a price for each road that's going to be deleted, the amounts to be deleted, so there'll be deletions from the total. And for each road that might be added on, we talked about some ways to do savings, and they will be bringing that information to us next week. So it'll be able to go on the Town Council's June 21st meeting. Now, with their very, I would say their schedule, because they're a large company, this is the same thing we ran into with Pike. You have to fit in their schedule. And so this is the old lanes, and now Northeast, with a couple of companies hooked in with lanes. So it's a large company, so they want to do the work in town immediately after the council meeting, and the work out of town they want to do later. They've stated that it can be done in October, and I said we really didn't like that. We'd like to have it done sooner, but that is when it will fit in their schedule. They've assured us that the temperatures would be over 40 degrees. It's binder, so you can do this. I just try to prefer not to. But they have such large contracts that they won't be ready to do the binder work until October. So that is something that we can talk a little bit more about.
At the next meeting, we'll be able to see
You'll
the
decide.
added and deleted.
Correct.
It'll
You'll
show.
see the additions, deletions, and what
Okay.
we're going to do.
Yes,
Yes,
great,
they're
thanks.
still working on it.
Yep.
And Donnie did go out to Beans Corner Road and believes that we might be able to cut a little bit of the end off in order to try to do more at another road out there. So we'll try to work that all out for you so that you've got it all listed on one page. So the dispatch, I wish that could have been listed on one page, but I'm going to concentrate on the paperwork that I got yesterday and sent to you that had the call volumes, percentages, and just thank goodness for the Fairfield police chief. He did a lot of work trying to straighten this out. so we could figure out exactly what was going on. There were so many questions on what should the town pay, etc., and how it should be divided up. So the Fairfield Police Chief made a recommendation based upon the call volumes and the services, and it came out Pittsfield was about the same. And we went from being higher than Fairfield, which we have less of a budget, less vehicles, and less licenses and everything. So we went to being the town that would pay the lowest for certain things, and then Fairfield and Skowhegan, and then the communication center and the sheriff's office. Some items we
Catherine, can I ask clarification on this before you go any further on? That's something that the Fairfield town did on their own. This isn't from the county.
Correct.
Do we have anything from the county at all? We've asked for months for something from the county. We've heard nothing. We have this statement saying that it has to be by June 20th or something in there, or we're June 21st, by which the date 3 times we need to commit to this project. We've asked them to give us information, either written or verbal or meeting. Why do we not have anything from them? And no one on this council is going to vote for this at all until we even see a face or hear a voice. Because we've asked, we've been very patient with it, and they're saying, no, you have to do it without giving any information. I understand what Fairfield's doing. I read through it, and I think there's a lot of good information, but if it's just Fairfield, Skowhegan, and Pittsfield talking about it, if the county dispatch system is not involved in it, so we can talk about that all night. I don't want to waste time talking about that, because we need to have action on this. Because unless the dispatch group or entity is bought into the numbers that Fairfield has developed, and they're excellent numbers, it means nothing. It means nothing. And we've spent way too much time on this without any action, without any responses to our request as a municipality asking for a huge amount of money.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I understand. This has been extremely frustrating.
So I would say, before we go any further on this, because we're not going to do anything tonight, and it's just going to confuse and muddy the waters even more, it sounds like we're waiting for, once we receive this, have written up the results of the meeting. However, this was a request for detailed information and breakdown in the bill that we can understand. Once we receive this, a meeting should be scheduled with the council, as we will have information to review in addition to the sale brochure that the council received.
So that second handout was received on Monday from the town of Fairfield. They got it from Central Square, and it was delivered to all of us. So Central Square is the vendor that the dispatch or Somerset County plans to contract with. And so they redid their whole estimate, so it's now clearer as to what they're doing.
So we're dealing with Central Square, we're not dealing with the county dispatch? Is that what you're saying?
We're trying to get as much information as possible. So the police chief went directly.
No, I understand. My question is, are we dealing with Central Square, or are we dealing with county dispatch?
Well, it's kind of interesting. You couldn't figure it out through the process, frankly, because we never got anything from the county.
These documents say Somerset County Communications Central Square Pro Suite contract. So it sounds like there's a contract with Central Square to accomplish the work, and the county probably has contracted them to do this, right?
No, I think Central Square is the vendor that the county and the police
We'll be providing the service. We still need to deal with the Somerset County dispatch system.
Okay.
So they're the entity that needs to explain to us why we should pay so much amount of money instead of just giving a copy of a contract that they're not resolving to identify. I mean, if it wasn't for the police chief of Fairfield, we'd still be absolutely nowhere. We shouldn't have to do this. We shouldn't have to put an effort to determine how much money we're going to give them without having answers.
It's been very
If they want money from us, give us some answers.
That's exactly what I say. So based on this second paragraph, or updated from May 17, 2022, what are we waiting for from either Central Square or Somerset County Dispatch?
It was this information, which the Fairfield police chief has made his recommendation. So I think the police chiefs will probably think that's good because it seems fairer than what we had before. And then some people still question, why should we pay for some of this?
What does our police chief think? Have you talked to him?
I have talked to him, but this is a confusing subject and he's been out a lot. So I suspect he'll talk to the Fairfield chief.
But have you talked to him at all about this?
Yes.
Because he's been back for a couple weeks, right?
He's been back for 3 or 4 days, yeah.
Oh, okay. He was at the last council meeting a couple weeks ago and he said he'd been back, so I didn't know.
Yeah, he comes for a couple of days and then comes back,
Okay.
the week or the weekend.
He's active, but not full-time.
Yeah.
Okay. But this issue is not something you two have directly discussed in his time back?
Yes, we discussed it several times. He told me to take care of the budget part, which is this.
Okay.
Have we contacted Somerset County?
Yes, we've tried to have, we've had meetings with them. The town managers took on the budget part to try to help the police chiefs, and it has been interesting. I wrote out what's going on, but this is the first good information we've got. The other information is very difficult to understand.
So as far as Somerset County Dispatch believes, they have a bill that they've sent to us and they're waiting for us to pay it. I know I'm simplifying to make a point.
That's an estimated bill, yes. It started out, it was 100,000 as an estimate for each 3 towns.
Right,
Then
right.
it went to 70.
The amounts are not in question here. The fact is, so what's our step? I mean, where do we go next? Are they waiting for us to send them a check? Are we waiting for them to give us more information before we vote on it? They must understand that these towns have not even approved this bill. It's like they've sent out a bill, here's how much you're going to pay, and they don't care what we're going to say. We've asked them politely numerous times for information. So until we get that information from them so that we can act upon it and impact our budget, I don't know what more we can do. I mean, they're threatening and say, well, you're going to be cut off of our service. However, from what I see in here, it takes 1 to 2 years to implement.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to lose a great deal of sleep over that. I think what I would suggest is to contact Fairfield, Skowhegan, and the 3 towns, Fairfield, Skowhegan, Pittsfield, consolidate. This is the information we need. We're the 3 biggest towns in the county that you have to deal with. This is what we need. Otherwise, we cannot, as an entity, the council, the selectmen, or whoever they have running their towns, we can't say, yep, we're going to give you this amount of money. We have our process we have to go through, just like them. So until we get sufficient information from them to act upon,
Has Fairfield said they're gonna pay it?
They're getting closer to it. They weren't going to pay it as of last Friday because of the documents that we had, those other documents you got were wrong. So they took it on as a project to try to straighten it
right.
out. So it was
And we found out those documents were wrong with it, or the billing was completely incorrect because Fairfield took the initiative and asked the question. Not dispatch, but the Central Square, Central Square. They said, oh, don't worry about those numbers, those are wrong.
Right.
Yet we weren't corrected by Somerset County Dispatch. Here are your new numbers, sorry about that. No, as far as they know, that original number they threw out, 80,000, whatever it was, they expect payment on that.
Because like you said, what if all 3 towns here say, no, we're not paying none of it? How's the county gonna get the money to pay that communication square?
And that's the question I had. So what if we say no?
Yeah.
It takes 1 to 2 years to implement. Why do we need it now? What about the taxes that we pay as an entity of the county? I have great deal of heartburn over this.
So, and this isn't, from my understanding, this isn't current services. This is an
It's a future.
improvement project that they want to go forward.
Yeah.
Correct.
But wasn't
what-
there information about this, they're gonna discontinue, or there's gonna be some end to the communication system that the town are gonna use for emergency services at some point, and maybe that is 2 or 3
No,
years.
I think you got it right.
But there is some end in sight, and there's like almost a forced upgrade for those towns that plan to participate in this communication, because there's only like 1 or 2 communication vendors to even go to, right? So that's the crux of the issue.
It's the same thing as the financial system we have.
Right, it's like forcing us into a path of one or the other, but we have to decide how we pay for it.
Is there any grants you can apply for that would set up our own communication system here?
I think that would be very difficult at this point. We used to have our own communication center and went away from that due to the cost.
But for $80,000 to $100,000 a year,
It's a one-time expense, right? This is a
One-time,
one-time.
right?
Some of that is a one-time expense,
Right.
and some of
Yes.
it is a continuing expense. Yeah, the police chiefs, I think, will find with a better proration, will recommend, like our police chief is recommending to vote on it tonight, and I said, no, we need.
We have nothing to vote on. We don't have numbers to vote on. This is
I know.
ridiculous.
I
And they're made up numbers. They're not numbers from Central Square, and they're not numbers from dispatch. They're numbers that the the Fairfield Police Chief has come up with.
Yeah,
We can't act upon
And
that.
luckily he did.
Well, because it looks like he probably broke down the call volume and realized that the percentages were wrong, so that inherently he knew the data was flawed because his call percentages were off.
Exactly.
So then he picked up on it. But unless our police chief can do that same thing, which I don't know if he can, to make sure and validate our numbers are right. Like, how does Fairfield know that our call volume percentages are accurate? They just know what theirs are. Is that right? Like, we have so many things we don't know about
We
this.
tried to go through all of them to see what was fair, but yes, our police chief has this, so it can be checked.
Okay.
And Scott, he gets that.
But we don't know that that's been done, because you guys, we
Oh,
don't.
well, no, I wouldn't think so.
Okay.
Just because he comes up for 1 or 2 days.
Right, okay.
So I guess what I would recommend, what I'd like to see is Fairfield, Scott, even Pittsfield, kind of consolidate efforts and get information, because all three of them were in that Zoom meeting, which you're calling confusing,
It was
with no results. Requested a detailed information breakdown in the bill. So I don't know. And do we need to do that again? I think communications have been had between the three towns. I think the communications should continue and go back with Central Square or whoever it is, whether it's Central Square or it is a dispatch system and their contract Central Square to implement it. This whole thing, the whole
point
thing
of contact somewhere that we got to call and get to the bottom of it. I mean,
We don't. That's right. We don't even have a name and a number
Right.
of this entity that wants X amount of money.
Google Central Square and go from there.
Catherine, to Brent's point about grant money, at the last town council meeting, you mentioned critical infrastructure project monies that were available for police departments and fire departments and such. Would this be an opportunity for critical infrastructure grant application?
I didn't see that would fit into it, but we can look.
I mean, it's a one-time expense that makes it so our critical infrastructure can operate because they need communications.
That should be an easy sell.
I would think so. I meant to mention at the last meeting, but we kind of got off track, and so I just thought I'd circle back around.
Yeah,
Brent
it's
mentioned
not
it.
owned by the town of Pittsfield.
But it's our communication system
I
that we
know.
run on. I bet we could make a stretch if it's something.
It's the bill for communications.
Right.
We'll lose it without doing it, I mean, in
It's
theory.
almost as though it could be for the county, because it's going to be their facility, so. it's
But it
almost-
benefits us directly, and
Right.
it's a bill we have
Our
to pay.
obligation.
I don't know, maybe it's a reach, but maybe we can look at it. as an option.
The funds, that's a service, a necessary emergency service. I mean, we have an emergency service with ambulance, but we don't own those. I mean, I'm exaggerating to make a point, but
I know.
it's an excellent point you made there.
No, I'm all set, I'll check on that.
Any,
All right, so the three towns will continue to work together here.
yeah, if you would, please. I didn't mean Shanghai that.
No,
This
I
has
was
been an
actually done
ongoing
with
thing
that.
it needs to be
I
taken
was
care
going
of.
on to the second page there. But the documents, I think we'll find that the Central Square, when they redid the estimate, I mean, the prices are a lot different for the town of Pittsfield as well as the other towns, but the total didn't change. So I think things are more in where they're supposed to be in each town.
Right. Since we're still active in this, and I want to wrap it up and get into the new business, any final comments from council? We in agreement on action proposed?
Not doing anything.
No, we have the three towns get together and try to get some.
So we'll keep working on
Yeah,
it.
essentially, yeah.
Well, I
It's
think
been
they
a
need to
very
provide answers
scary-
at a time that's suitable for the councils to get together and understand it, the people that are making the decisions.
Even if it's not a suitable time, we have nothing to chew on.
10 o'clock
from
in the
them.
morning doesn't work for me to jump on a call or what, I can't do it.
No, I know.
So,
Okay, so we're in agreement, Catherine, would you approach Scott Egan and Fairfield, and see how we can consolidate our efforts?
Yeah.
Would it be fair to say that police chiefs from each town could be present from an operations perspective?
Oh,
I know the
absolutely.
managers are doing budgets, but you can't really separate the budget from operations. And
Yeah.
so
Well, that was an assumption I made, but yes, I mean, we
I
should
think those
clarify that.
people should be at the meeting.
I think that they all were at the first meetings that started in September, October, November, December, or January,
Okay.
and then that slowed down because of personal situations.
Okay.
If and when we get a meeting set up, then we can do that.
Oh, sure.
Just to get one set up. All right, so let's move on. Number 6, old business. There is none. New business, ordinance 2206, please, Catherine.
Ordinance 22-6 sets a public hearing on June 21st, 2022. The town of Pittsfield hereby ordains to accept all tax year payments of Uri J. Cormier, including interest and lien costs for the property at 140 Manson Street, map 25, lot 39, the town having acquired said property as a result of automatic foreclosure of a 2019 property tax lien recorded in the Somerset Registry of Deeds on July 21st, 2020, at book 5575, page 85, which matured on January 21st, 2022. The town council further authorizes the town manager to execute a municipal quitclaim deed releasing the town's interest in said property to Uri J. Cormier.
I'll look for a motion from council, please.
Make a motion that we set ordinance 22-06, a public hearing on 6/21/22.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments, council? Very well. Hearing none, since we're ready to vote, all those in favor of setting ordinance 22-06 public hearing on 6/21/22, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Ordinance 22-06 will be set to public hearing on June 21st, 2022. Resolution 2251, please, Catherine.
Resolution 22-51, resolved that the town council act as necessary on the Maine DOT Planning Partnership Initiative, PPI.
Look for a motion from council, please.
We adopt resolution 22-51.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. This would be the discussion we had with Jared and Randy, was his name?
Yes.
Yeah. So when we went around and agreed, they just need to have a yea or nay when they left, before they left the meeting to see how they would proceed with this PPI. So based on that, this is probably more of a formality of anything. Any comments or questions on this, council? So we're formalizing the yea vote we gave to the NDOT gentlemen while they were here. All right, very well. Let's vote on this. All in favor of resolution 22-51, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. 22-51 passes. Resolution 2252, please, Catherine.
Resolution 22-52, resolved that the town council authorize the town manager to execute the sidebar agreement number 3, 2022, to the police collective bargaining agreement expiring December 31st, 2022, for lateral transfers and scheduling.
Look for a motion from council.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 22-52.
Seconded. Moved and seconded. Thank you, gentlemen. Now, this is as before, the committee has worked on this sidebar, and it is privy information. However, the committee has voted to accept the sidebar as presented. So the council, with this vote, will approve the town manager to execute the sidebar agreement. Any questions that we can answer, council? Any comments?
Don't we usually see that in a confidential letter of some type?
So basically,
No, that's the committee.
to be frank, this is the same thing as we had last year that expired, with the exception that in this, the scheduling is going to be the same as what we had last summer, which they just did informally. They want it to be formally put down this year. The lateral transfers would be the same exact thing as in the prior sidebar last year, in which people can come in at a certain level higher than entry level in order to entice them to come more and have more vacation. They would get vacation at a higher level as though they had been here 5 years because they had 5 years someplace else. The only item that's
It was essentially the same.
same thing.
Okay.
The only item that's different is that it has sets them out if they're called out during the time that we're shut down during the night and nobody's on. If they have a call out anyway, but this makes it more formal.
Okay. Sounds good.
Is this a well, I'm not even sure if I can ask this. This is foreign to me still, the whole sidebar agreements and what we can and can't discuss, but does this mean that the union has decided that they've adjusted the call compensation for this? Because like last year during the summer nights, it was extreme vacancy rates that made it so lots of people had to work a ton of extra to cover. And so I'm asking, they're formalizing it this year. Does that mean that they have a new set call like rate and all of that, and it's a much higher cost, or is that not something we can discuss?
I think it's formalizing. It was
What went on?
it was more. It was just putting down on paper something that was in practice before.
Okay.
Is that?
Because it's an extreme circumstance, right? They wouldn't want to have these call hours normally if we were
No,
fully
no,
staffed.
this is only if something cannot wait. Let's say something happens at 3 o'clock in the morning. They can't wait. They're going to be called out, but they get a certain call out anyway.
Is there a decision factor on what's that triaging situation that would warrant someone going out?
I would think it would be the sergeant who was here would make the decision with the dispatch. They'll have a list.
The sergeant's not here, right? Because there's no coverage. So who makes the decision at 3 o'clock in the morning if the police are going to be dispatched?
Well, dispatch would have to call who's designated on call,
Oh, okay.
and that person would.
So there's-
whoever the police officer would be
Okay.
on patrol or on
Okay.
duty.
There would be a list that's set on items, and of course you'd have to use your discretion.
Okay. Just sometimes we get into situations where vacancy rates contribute to extreme amounts of overtime and call pay when you could fix the problem by hiring an employee for a lot less. So I'm just trying to understand, like, is this going to be like 30 times more expensive than just working harder to recruit a different?
I don't know if it's more of a money thing than it is having the ability to respond to something. And one thing that I want to make clear on this is that it's not that dispatch will call the officer and the officer's going to make the decision to go out or not. If dispatch calls and the officer goes. It's just formalizing that time of 2 or 4 in the morning where we don't necessarily have somebody on active patrol because we don't have the people available to do
Right.
that.
Okay. Okay.
And I know that people thought it was kind of different, or risky for this, but on the up north, in areas I was in before, we didn't have somebody on in the middle of the night. You had the one person from the sheriff's office or state police. So this is somewhat similar.
As we staff, these hours will be adjusted.
Correct.
Which will lessen the impact.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're still actively attempting to staff to where we're.
Yes, and
potentially
the sign-on bonus, everything else is still in place. I mean, there's still action happening on that.
We're just covering all the items that we covered last year, either in the sidebars or what was informally done. It's just all in writing now.
Anything else, council? All right, very well. Let's vote on resolution 22-52. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Resolution 22-52 passes. Resolution 22-53, please, Catherine.
Resolution 22-53, resolved that the town council authorize the town manager to submit an application to the COPS hiring program, CHP, for a community resource officer.
I look for a motion from the council, please.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 22-53.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Thank you, gentlemen. Catherine, can you give us a Reader's Digest version?
Yes, so since the last time I applied for COPS grants, I have been fortunate to have gotten 2 of them. The website has totally changed and is quite massive with tutorials, YouTube, and all kinds of items, plus very bright colors. So I cannot read it due to my eye disability. So we have copied it as much as we can to try to figure out all the requirements, and it's not straightforward. So, as far as I can see, this will cover 3 years worth of salary and fringe benefits for one employee over a 5-year period. In 2 parts of the COPS website, I encourage you, I'm going to give you the link so you can go in and look, because it's quite amazing what's there. Everything is there you could ever want or not want. The match for the town would be 25% to 33%. It's listed in 2 different places. So figuring out that the grant would start next year, our commitment would be 25 to 30,000 the first year, 26 to 35 the second year, and then the third year, 28,000, and I'm rounding these off, up to 38,000 for the third year. This is counting in all the items we can count in. So basically it's 25% to 33%, depending on the program and the item. I got the information from Officer Craig, who would like this position created, Community Resource Officer. It'll have to be created under one of the categories that are listed on the COP site. That one's not particularly listed, but you can fit it in between the different categories. So he gave me the information last Thursday, and I advised him he'll be sitting down with me next week to do this. There are 2 applications, they're small, on other sites, which I can view easily and fill out, that I have to file by Thursday at 5 o'clock. And then by the 16th, the entire grant application has to be in. So he's going to sit down and go over this with me, and we're going to work on the computer together next week.
So what's our current portion that we help pay now?
So for the SRO, if it was the SRO position, 2 months is paid by the town, 10 months by the school when they have it.
Right. So what do we actually are paying out? Because you said it's
So
25 to 33% under this.
Mhm. Yeah, we're right. There's not going to be a school resource officer, so
You got cut in the budget this year.
yeah, it's not in the budget. So
Well,
it's that.
it'll be 14.
Right.
Yeah,
Like
like
we were paying towards it.
we
So
were paying if for a year, if the school has a position for a year, for the 10 months, our contribution was 14,800.
So best case scenario, we get the grant that's due next week. That's really difficult to read and deal with.
This has changed a lot. It used to be easy to do.
You said in your memo that it's very rare that towns of our size get approved for grants
We've
like
been
this.
told, we've been told that when we called in, and I've heard that before.
So it's a long shot regardless. And if we get it, we pay 25%, that breakdown you just described, which is only 15% more, like to his point, that it's not a lot more money that we would be paying, but we have to get the grant or else
We have to get the grant, yeah. We've
Yeah.
been fortunate on grants. This one does look interesting.
So you're saying though we pay 25 to 30,000 the first year.
Yes,
So we're saying, and that's only 25%. So you're saying the whole program's over 100,000.
the whole cost would be over 100,000, yes.
Well, salary, benefits.
Benefits,
Yeah.
all the matches for retirement, everything has to go into
Probably burn rate
security.
like 50 or 60% when you figure it.
What's that?
The burn rate's probably 50 or 60%.
Easy.
Seriously,
It's
Well,
a-
it's more.
It's a large one for police.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why, I mean, a school resource officer, I get it. A community resource officer is just, I'm not gonna say just another policeman, but it's another policeman. What makes a community resource officer worth the effort to, for this program? I don't understand what's the difference between this and we don't hire another officer and
That's what I was getting at.
This.
You're paying out. Why don't you just hire another cop?
Because the cop isn't doing what the community resource.
well, I guess that's my question. What does a community resource officer
It's to
do other than a regular police officer on
It's another
There's
thing.
a job thing
There's
in
a job
here.
description in here.
Yeah, I know.
So there's a focus not on answering calls,
Right.
although they would have to answer some. It's a focus on the community with events and activities, which also would go into the schools a little bit, into the hospital. I think when Mike first brought this up, he was thinking a third with the school, a third with the town, a third with the hospital. I'm not sure that would work out that way. But basically, the person goes around town, goes to all the different businesses and stores.
Events.
It's a PR thing, and with the children
Well,
and everything.
With the lot,
Not completely. I mean,
It's
it's
a great time to have police present anywhere in the community, I would think. Whether
Yes,
it be
yes.
the stores,
Yeah.
the
I know.
park, the schools, wherever they might be, I think.
That's what
Right
they're
now, it's
supposed to
not
do
bad.
anyway. Yeah.
No, it's not a bad thing, but it's more like a designated face of the department, which I would put on the chief's position.
well,
I'm with Brent. If it's going to cost us more to fund this position than to hire another officer.
well, I mean, I think it's all dependent on getting that grant,
Yeah.
really.
No,
I mean, if
I
you don't get it-
understand that. I understand, but
Just
once we
writing
apply the
a
grant,
grant.
there's a obligation.
the grant is due next week. I mean, and it's a long shot based on what
Yeah.
Catherine's saying. So we're probably not getting the grant. So I mean, it's sort of like a wash. We either want to have a community resource officer that we pay for, which is another police officer. The school has opted out, and they used to pay 80% of it.
Right.
So we either go without, to the schools won't have coverage, or we find a way to pay for it. I mean, that's
Well,
wicked basic.
I'm
but
not
The resolution is just to have Catherine.
Yeah.
apply for the grant, yeah, which
Just get the grant.
means
Do
we're
the
paying
paperwork, if we get
50%
it,
more
great.
than what
If
we
we
would
don't,
mention.
then-
I'm not speaking against having an officer, especially with everything that's going on in the world today.
Right.
I just think it's unfortunate that the school system.
School dumped it, now we have to pick it up.
Which we knew would happen.
Right.
At least.
That would be on next year's budget at this point, if we don't get that.
And I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I'm not looking forward to it.
No,
I'm looking
that's
forward
right.
in time. That's going to be something we're going to have to deal with again.
Right.
Which the last couple of years we didn't really have.
Right. But for the resolution, yeah, we.
Yep. No, I agree with you. Any other? Yeah. Hold
Excuse
on.
me.
Go ahead, Brian.
So if we get the grant, we're gonna go forward with this. If we don't, we're gonna re-vote again?
If you don't, then it'll be part of the budget package, but it'll be a proposal from the police chief, I suspect.
Yeah, it'd be one of his.
It'll be
add-on.
Additional.
When we get into the finance stuff, I mean, you can vote on it any way you want at that point, but it'll be another discussion.
Yeah.
Because don't get me wrong,
But
we've already seen the school voted on, elected not to have one. And that's the townspeople,
Well, yeah.
right? They elected whether it's worth it or not. So, and now you're trying to get this one, which has got a lot of stuff, which anybody can make a job description, looks like a nice to have. What are you actually getting for it? I can write you a fairy tale job description.
So, I'm just saying, the way things going lately, I don't know.
I'd rather have,
So Mark, think of this one.
I'd rather have a full-time policeman that could go out and dress the web road or attack things that need to be attacked, or places we know there's a lot of illegal activity going on, but everybody just kind of looks the other way, instead of having somebody that's a community, running around warm and fuzzy.
So, let's say, for instance, we do get this grant and we hire a
No,
police
I
officer.
understand.
Because we're hiring a police officer under this program, are we liable for that signing bonus? Not to muddy the waters, but something's got to be thought about. But anyway, to your point, it is to vote whether we continue, whether Catherine.
But,
with the grant.
so if we do get the grant, though, I was saying we're definitely doing it.
Oh, yeah, that's what I said, we're gonna do.
Right.
That's not what we said here.
Let's
All
do
we're
it.
doing is approving her to write the grant, right? So
Right.
if you get the grant, can we then vote on
Then
hiring?
you opt out of the grant? Then you opt out of the grant?
Applying for getting the grant is not an obligation. If they say, yep, you won the grant, we don't have to say, okay, now we have to take it. We can say no if we want to.
We don't have to sign the paperwork.
Okay, that's,
Or can you take that money and, we got that guy, but we're gonna mold him.
You listen to Eric too much.
well, in his job description, he does cover, like Catherine said, he does cover some of the normal,
Yeah, I know, but.
Police,
This is the
yeah.
normal thing.
so we could maybe justify how much he does.
Heather,
of
briefly.
work.
A couple things. Number one, this proposal very much seems like a knee-jerk reaction to the school's decision not to have a school resource officer in their budgeting process. Number two, if the council isn't actually committed to hiring and doing this process of adding this position, because don't sugarcoat it, you're going to be adding another police officer. Because what happens in year 4, when the grant money's gone, all of a sudden you're going to say, oh, we don't need that school, we don't need that community resource person anymore. We're going to cut that position. That's probably not going to happen if you get somebody into the position for 3 years. Then you're looking at an increase of over $100,000 to your overall police budget again. Yeah, it just seems like if you're not committed to actually funding that position and having it be part of the department to begin with, then I would ask you not to ask Catherine to fill out another grant application, especially when it sounds like it's something that the town wouldn't actually obtain because of the size of the town that we have. So just some considerations there, that if you're not committed to actually putting that into the police staffing program, then it's not something that's ever been considered or even talked about before. And I would expect the council to do a little more background research on it and things like that to know that you're actually going to be funding it if that grant came through, and have kind of like a plan B there for that.
Thank you. Anything else, council?
So then,
Lindsay?
Go
Hold on.
ahead, Catherine. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just wanted to make it clear that the police chief really wants to have this project and requested that I apply for it. And Officer Cray really wants to have this job. He doesn't believe he can do the patrol officer job.
No, that's
Okay,
fine.
just so you know.
Lindsay, you had something you wanted to?
I was just going to say, I think Heather's probably right that it is somewhat of a knee-jerk reaction to that loss of a position. And I think that, to your point, the reason why the police department is so pro doing this is because they don't want to lose the officer that filled that position for that, which would be yet another vacancy in the police department. So not to say that that's what's going to happen, but right now we're looking at losing that person regardless. So this can't hurt to apply for it and then make the decision of whether we move forward. And after year 3, hopefully by then either the community will see the value of it, or just like some jobs that come with grant money and go away, sadly that would be unfortunate, but I don't personally see any harm in going forward with the application if we can try to get those funds to offset the loss of the SRO. Because as someone who works in the school right currently today, it's not a good time to have less law enforcement around. That's just my personal opinion.
I agree 100%. Anything else, council?
How many, last year, the RSO for the schools, how many things did he interact with, as in incidents?
I don't know. It's a good
And I
question.
know somebody will say, well, we don't want to go by that because there may be one coming. Well, anybody can say that, you know. But did he actually get involved with, it 10 incidences, no incidences? So what are you paying for?
Well, you know, if and I'm not going to talk for him, but I've talked to Mike Cray about this a number of times, and Pete Bickmore. It's not the fact that they're there and they have to interface or intercede with any issues or items. It's the fact that they have a presence, and that's what I think has a greater exposure on the school and the students there. I mean, Lindsay, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think just knowing there's a police officer, that makes a huge difference.
Mike Cray and I have personally had to work together in many difficult situations in the last 12 months.
Right. Understood.
Together,
I'm not saying that
intimately.
that doesn't happen, but to know that there's an officer there, I think you get a huge, immeasurable benefit for that. You can't really measure that. You can measure interceding into items and issues. But I think, I personally think this is a good move on their part, and Chief has requested it. And if we can get that kind of interface, whether the school district pays for it out of their budget or the town pays for it, I believe that these days is we have a need for it. Anything else, Council?
Do we know if the school,
Real quick, please. We got to wrap up.
do we know if the school still had funding for this position, either through ARPA or through other grant funding? Because that's where it still started, and they chose not to fill it. That's the case.
Don't know, but Tuesday it's going to be. It's kind of a moot point now. This, the input or trace that the town had to talk about. It's already been set in stone. Going to vote. I don't know.
May
what the
19th was
response
the budget meeting at the school, right, or May 17th, whatever day it was, that went to public. And so it's whoever attends the school meetings that's knowledgeable enough to ask the questions to understand what cuts were made and what's been filled. And so I can't speak to whether they outlined the exact changes that were going to take place and whether the community understood the impact of that. But like every school budget, they put it forward, and if it doesn't get opposition and or a change happens and the school board approves it at that point, then it comes up to the council and then it gets voted on, and there's very little that you do about it after that.
Right.
So once the school board said, yeah, okay, then it became town's issue.
All right, I want to get back on track here. Let's talk about the resolution here. Anything specific to the resolution?
I would just say that we owe it to the citizens to do everything we can to keep and or add to our police force, right? And I mean, I think that's kind of the end of it. It doesn't matter what we name, what we want to call that person, but some way, shape, or form to keep that person here, we owe every bit of it. So if it's a knee-jerk reaction, that's fine. I'm okay with that. I want police presence. I want my family, my friends taken care of. And, you know, if this is our cost, then this is what we do. That's what I would say.
Okay. Anything else, Councilor?
That's my 2 cents.
All right, very good. Let's vote on Resolution 22-53. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Resolution 22-53 passes. Resolution 22-54, please, Catherine.
Resolution 22-54, resolved that the town council authorize the town manager to expend and transfer $4,500 for concrete repair to the municipal building entryway and $6,387. All right, $6,387.40 for stone front frame and glass. Such repairs totaling $10,884 from pit number 54 Municipal Building Cosmetics, D1-658-00, and furthermore to close the reserve as the work has been completed, transferring the balance to the town's general fund reserve account for expenditure being $600.29 as of April 30th, 2022.
Look for a motion from the council, please.
Move we adopt resolution 22-54.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Thank you, gentlemen. So I guess immediate question, Captain, what? Was there an accident? Was there damage? Why are we looking at repairs for concrete and glass?
So, for several years, we've been waiting for the project, 2.5. The glass was dented in and very rough, but the concrete underneath the stairs was crumbling on the side, and it's been there for over 40 years. And so the company was hired to fix this after 3 bids, and they were the low bidder and the only bidder each time. The price got better, and so we contracted it in 2019, and then it finally got done after COVID, and the supplies came in. So yes, it needed to be done. The front did not look good, but there was a crumbling side, which we put up reinforcements and everything, which didn't look too good.
So there was significant concrete that was done.
There was a concrete problem, definitely.
Nothing the town could have done.
No, that was beyond their ability.
Did Don look at it?
Yes, we needed a concrete company.
Okay.
Timmy looked at it, John has looked at it previously.
Okay, very good.
Steve?
Any questions, comments, council? Very good. Let's vote on resolution 22-54. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. 22-54 passes. Let's move on to resolution 22-55, please.
Resolution 22-55, resolved that the town council sign the warrant and notice of election to call the MSAD number 53 budget validation referendum to be voted on June 14, 2022.
Look for a motion from the council, please.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 22-55.
Second. Moved and seconded. Thank you, gentlemen. Any questions or comments on this? It's fairly straightforward housekeeping.
Yes, all 3 of these are.
Nothing? Very good. Let's move on to a vote. All those in favor of resolution 22-55, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, resolution 22-55 passes. Catherine, resolution 22-56, please.
Resolution 22-56, resolved that the town council appoint Nicole Nicolin as warden and Tina Farias and Stephanie Kozel as deputy wardens for the June 14, 2022 state primary election and the MSAD number 53 school budget election.
I'll look for a motion from council, please.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 22-56.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Thank you, gentlemen. Any questions or comments? Also, fairly straightforward housekeeping item for elections. Anything? Very good. Since we're ready to vote, all those in favor of resolution 22-56, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Resolution 22-56 passes. Resolution 22-57, please, Catherine.
Resolution 22-57, resolved that the town council approve the opening of absentee ballots on June 14, 2022 at 9 a.m., 11 a.m., 1 p.m., 3 p.m., and 6 p.m. for the June 14, 2022 state primary election and the MSAD number 53 budget election.
Look for a motion from council, please.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 22-57.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Thank you, gentlemen. Any questions or comments on this? Very good. Thank you, council. Let's vote on resolution 22-57. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Resolution 22-57 passes. So discussion items, it is NA. So let's go to reports. We are out of the audience now, so we shall start with Deputy Mayor Lodgedice. Anything you'd like to bring up, sir?
I have no report.
Very good. Councilor Frost.
I've already talked to some people on this, but I'll just say it again. The town ended up grading the McCarty Road, and if you saw it, they totally destroyed that road. And I guess the person who was in charge of it no longer work here. And I hate to say probably for the lack of intelligence, I would say that was a good thing because they should have seen that as they started doing it that it was destroying more than improving it. So they should have stopped. For whatever reason they didn't. So the road's going to need some major work now.
Is that the one off Route 2 by Sibley?
No, this one goes to the town sewage treatment.
Oh, okay.
That's minor, but still.
Yeah.
The person,
Still road.
yeah, the person should have realized what he was doing.
Same person that had been doing it, because they did Sibley, they did a pretty decent job.
Yeah, well, this one, he didn't know.
Oh, good. Okay.
That's all I can say.
Okay. Thank you, Brad. Councilor Holmstrom?
I just wanted to talk a little bit about accountability as a town, and I like that we had some good active discussion. I feel a little bit overwhelmed by Pete's presentation. I feel personally responsible, even though I've been here a month, but I feel like excited to make a positive change. But I think we have a lot of symptoms of a bigger problem as a community, and this is one symptom, but I think we really have to take a good hard look at what we're doing as a council, and as we move forward, how are things looking, how are they being run, and what are our opportunities. And I think that I'm really excited to see some of the cleanup stuff start, and I want to just kind of maybe tell Catherine or thank her for working with Al, and but I really think that we need to take advantage of this, is it Bob and Al, and that 28 hours a week that we're paying for, and I feel like we can really move the needle on that. So I'd like to see that stay at the top of our sort of report out so that it doesn't get lost underneath the pile of things, because every week we have action items, but one is what's our vision for the town and what do we want it to look like in 5 years, and I think we have the right people sitting here to make a big change in the community. So that's my little 2 cents. I felt really motivated by Pete's presentation, and I wish more people could tell a story like he can, because it really is impactful. So that was my only thing I wanted to say.
All set? Okay. Yeah, Pete has a way of motivating.
Yeah. So nearly all of the 24 hours that Bob has is working with all of the people that come in for their building permits. I've taken over the site plan review and the planning board. so he can concentrate on the building permits and the plumbing. And then Al is able to come on Friday, and he's trying to free up some more time so we can work on code enforcement, because he's very organized
Yeah.
and excellent at it.
Thank you, Catherine. Councilor Hall.
Just appreciate the presentations that were given tonight. Looking forward to working with people and moving things forward. Is it possible for, Al and Bob are obviously short-staffed and limited amount of hours. If counselors or residents felt like they wanted to contribute hours or go in and assist them, is there anything that they can just go in and help them do? I don't know, clerical stuff that they are slow at doing, or if they want to go ran the roads and they need me to fill out letters that need to go out to people, like I'd be willing to, or maybe not me, or maybe me and other people probably be willing to assist and help and donate our time and push more paper out to people or whatever needs to happen.
I'll think about that, but I believe there is, so I'll speak with Al and then Bob.
Well, yeah, just know that they have our support and we're willing to, or I'm willing to do whatever, because this is pretty disgraceful. Gwent Road was good hunting land. I don't think I want to hunt through that area right now.
I had no idea that existed.
Yeah, it's pretty disturbing.
Yeah, in order to free this up so that there could be more code enforcement, I did take over all the planning board stuff, which is a lot.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And it needs to be done because they're $1 million projects. They've got to be pushed forward.
Sure.
Anything else, Jason?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Councilor Saucier, please.
I just want to thank the town crew for working on the Power Cemetery. That's done, and it looks really good. I went by, I was talking to a few people, and they had mentioned it's been a while, and we just talked about it in passing, and all of a sudden there's equipment showing up, and they're graveling the road, and they're bringing the woman, and it looks really good. So I appreciate the effort.
Well, they got so excited. I left a phone message and just said what was going on. And then the cemetery section ran down to the Public Works garage, and then poor Donnie had put his schedule together, and they just whipped out before they even read the schedule. So it's done.
Oh, it looks really good. And on the flip side of it, I mean, obviously there's some stuff going on here that I think if you posted these pictures around town, I think everyone would be embarrassed. Even the people that are involved in this. So it's just, if you keep it on the front of your list and the top of your mind. And Brent's a wicked stickler for this. He always talks about the value of properties, and he's not wrong. Like, this is not good. And I don't understand how it got here completely, but I can see how it could, I guess. So we just need to fix it. It doesn't need to be quite so cyclical, more of a flat line. So that's all I got.
Councilor Jester.
Not much. Just going to say how much I appreciated everybody speaking up, Al coming in tonight, giving us his time, and also to echo what Lindsay said a minute ago, it's just the active discussion. It's productive when it's that active, and it's good to see the passion coming from not just one or two people, but the entire council and the community as a whole. So that's it. Just good stuff.
What's that? Yeah. All right. Thanks, Ron. So I'll be very, very brief. So late evening's going to get later. So just a reminder, just first I want to thank, they're already left, everyone who had showed up this evening, and thank you to Peter for bringing the information, and Al for being here. Honestly, it's the first time I met him. I had no input with the CEO, and I hope he didn't feel like he was being overwhelmed by us, but he seems to have his focus on that. And so one thing I want to add on that, we as a council need to support him as best we can when it comes to budget season. It's going to be a painful process, but we cannot sit here at this time of year and say, geez, all the stuff's not getting done, and here and say, well, we only have 24 hours in there because that's all it's budgeted. And Heather made the point. But anyway, I'm not going to deal with that anymore. So quick note to you, Catherine. I have some forms that Lindsay had forwarded about got thinking about the highway department, got thinking about the recycling department, the fire department, police department. They all have different forms. We don't get doesn't seem like we have a feedback from the departments on a regular basis. I'm wondering, they're standardized forms, they're fairly basic, simple to use. I would suggest, and I'll send them along to you when we have a discussion, and another time I'll forward to the other councils for their consideration. And thank you, Lindsay, for forwarding them to me. I would suggest you look at it for use in earnest. All the other departments use the same format. It's going to take a little bit to get up to speed. That way you have a consistent, basic format you're getting, and that's the information that we can get. And we as a council will expect that, and we should expect it. And we've already had that discussion once before. So the other thing that Al had mentioned that I found curious, that he walks into the Newport town manager's office every Monday, and he has a list of things he wants them to do or get done for that week.
We have that too.
Do you?
And Al comes to help Bob with that.
Okay, so that's something that we would, the council would probably like to see. Okay, so we're expecting the police chief to provide that report as we talked about what was done before, what's expected for the next 2 weeks, what was done, what had to be pushed back for whatever reason. I would see the CEO on that same thing, because that's going to be a high profile position. It should have always been a high profile position, because
It used to be.
yeah, and it needs to be again, and that's why these places that in that one picture he showed that house that's torn down with trees. I have no idea even where that is, but it doesn't matter. It's just it doesn't happen overnight, as he mentioned. It goes over time. It's going to take time to fix it. So if we're consistent and give them the support that we need, I think we need to go along with that.
I think the forms that Lindsay has sent you is something similar to one of the projects I worked on that sort of scared everybody. So we've got very basic reports coming from the departments, and so on Thursday I'm talking to them about the new format.
Okay, well, I'll share them with you.
Before that happens, I mean, I thought what I sent was going to be something for discussion as a group, so nothing.
I get that. I just wanted to have let her know that we have this and that, and as I said, I'm going to send it out to the group for discussion.
Okay.
I mean, if that's something the council wants to talk about as a council, but it's just something we talked about before, and I think you had brought it up about having a consistent format. Common format that every department uses, because the police chief does it one way, the fire chief does it one way, the highway department does another way, the CEO does another way. It needs to be more organized, and it needs to be directed by you, because you're the boss, and you need to have it on a regular basis. And us as the council, being responsible and essentially the boss, we need to have that also. So it's just a form that we're going to give to you. Take a look at it, whatever you're comfortable with, but our suggestion, we don't have to tell you exactly what form to use, but our suggestion is that you consolidate and make it consistent and hold everyone's feet to the flame, because we are to you. So that's the only reason why I brought it up, and I'll send it along. So that's really all I have. So let's wrap it up. I'll look for a motion before we get into number 10, executive session. Just for the record, we have to have motions for each separately. So when we have a motion to go into executive session, it'll be for executive session as described by A. And then we come out of that, and then we go back into the one described by B. Same one we did the last time here. So that's all I have. I'll look for I'll move on to executive session. A, for discussion of pending litigation and proposed settlement offer with the town attorney pursuant to 1 MRSA section 405(6)(e), and I'll look for a motion from council, please.
I'll make a motion that we move into executive session for A, for the discussion of pending litigation and proposed settlement offer with the town attorney pursuant to 1 MRSA section 405(6)(e).
Second.
Moved and seconded. We are in executive session.
All right, that means what we're going to be
Yes, we'll be shutting off the camera, and she's going to call the town attorney.
Natalie's on here, but she knows I'm going to call her.
Natalie,
All right, Natalie, I'm calling you shortly.
Thank you for coming.
And she's on. She was on to see where we were at.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You got to shut the camera down.
You're good? right
essentially
here.
paper.
Well, I wondered about that. Was that your?
We're still